5000. That's 636-978-5000. You'll love your home all over again.
Are you tired of spending your time driving past different haircut places and just trying to find an open spot? And you go in and it's not personal and you're just crossing your fingers that the haircut's going to be right. This is how you fix that problem. It's Hair Saloon, and you go to hairsaloon.com right now. You can see all the locations. There's one right near you, and make an appointment. When you go to Hair Saloon, like my husband does, like my son does, like so many other 97.1 listeners do, you get a complimentary beverage, a relaxing shampoo, hot towel and mint, a complimentary shoe shine. That's fantastic. You also are going to get a perfect haircut every single time, knowing that you can go in and get a reliable haircut that you are going to be proud of every single time. That's what it's all about. Hair Saloon believes that men deserve better, and they have created the perfect atmosphere for you to go get your haircut today. Reach out to them online at hairsaloon.com to make your appointment. And remember, 25% discount on services all day, every day for veterans, active duty military, and first responders. That's hairsaloon.com.
You can stop the radio anytime and rewind. Just visit 971talk.com and click listen. Or download the radio.com app. 97.1 FM Talk. The Annie Fry Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Look, I think all you have to do is say, if you were the Democrats and you wanted to use the American people's money to build the biggest possible political machine, the kind of machine we see in New York, Illinois, California, this bill's perfect. If you've had really terrible policies and you've really destroyed your small businesses and you've really maximized your unemployment, you get more money as a reward. So the states that have done the right things, that have low unemployment, that have small businesses prosperous, they're going to be taxed to transfer the money back to people, like Governor Cuomo, who's earned really serious problems, or like the governor of California. So what you have is, I think, just say to yourself about almost everything in the bill. I mean, $100 million for an underground railroad in Silicon Valley. I somehow think that, Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, they want to build an underground railroad. They got plenty of cash. Let them.
Newt Gingrich there, the former Speaker of the House, who in the 90s did what is unthinkable today, created bipartisan reform and got a Democratic president, Bill Clinton, to sign on and support welfare reform and balanced budgets. Remember balanced budgets? In the 90s, I was in grade school, so I don't really remember them. I've heard of them. It's in the history books. That's what I was, learning about while I was in school. Welcome into the Annie Fry Show. Glad to have you here. Hope you're having an enjoyable Monday. Katie and I were just talking about the weather, which is what you do on a Monday. You open up your conversation with your colleagues about the weather. And Katie, you are greatly enjoying these tropical temperatures that we have right now.
So happy. I was telling you, Annie, what a difference from going from like 9 degrees to 45. I feel like we just hit a heat wave. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I don't like the cold weather. It's definitely contributed to me wanting to stay inside. I'm expecting, and I have a lot of triggers that cause me to get nauseous, and cold is one of them. So it's been a rough couple weeks for me, to say the least. I was waiting for an Amazon delivery to show up on my doorstep. And I told Katie that really the majority of my experience of finding out what the weather is outside is like opening the front door and sticking my head out. And usually I'm like, nope, not today. And I opened it today. I go, it didn't punch me in the face.
So
and
nice.
that is a refreshing moment in time. So maybe you're out and about today getting lunch for the first time because you aren't afraid to go weather the weather, or you're taking us with you in the car on some errands or whatever. We're grateful that you've chosen to listen to the Annie Fry Show. And if you go back to your desk, or if you go back to your house or your kitchen after this, make sure you stream us at radio.com, or you can watch us at facebook.com/Annie Fry Show or the Annie Fry YouTube channel. We stream the show live there with video every day, and it's kind of fun to watch radio. That's a new inventive thing. So did you hear Newt Gingrich there talking about the biggest possible political machine that you could create, $1.9 trillion? That'd do it. How does it make you feel, Ryan, to know that less than 10% of this $1.9 trillion in the stimulus package is going for public health?
Incredibly angry. I mean, that's debt that either our kids are going to have to pay back or our grandkids. And like he said, it's entrenching some of their priority goals for way longer than just maybe the next 2 years. It's entrenching them in power for much longer.
Stephen Moore with FreedomWorks is going to join us at 1:00 as usual on Monday. I have a feeling I've braced myself for his emotion on this issue, but we'll get some of the nuts and bolts of it with him and find out, especially to what Newt Gingrich was saying there. I'm getting really kind of nervous that we're talking about how depraved the economic structures are in California and New York, and now Illinois is just casually being thrown in there. Like, we're in the Midwest. We're flyover country. Aside from Chicago being the third largest city in the country, usually they don't care about us. Usually they'll go to New Jersey or something like that. Like, have some Midwest nice self-respect and leave Illinois. Oh no, it's really that bad, folks. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's ridiculous. And he's right. I jest when I say that, but I'm happy that Illinois is finally getting the attention that I think it needs to have in order for Illinoisans, moderate voters in the state of Illinois who are not on any social government crusade to try to affect some sort of, usually the topics that boil to the top, that actually it's not really that anymore because Trump has changed all that now that I think about it. But, the things that really get people's blood boiling on one side or the other are the social issues. They're often things that don't get addressed in a large capacity when a new party takes over, or there's not, an enormous imbalance in power control in the government. Don't forget that even though, yes, the Democrats have the House, Nancy Pelosi is in charge of the House. Yes, Chuck Schumer is in charge of the Senate, even though there's a 50-50 tie because Kamala Harris is the vice president, gets to break the tie. And Joe Biden is the president. Democrat, 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 check, check, check. It's still split as close to down the middle as it possibly can be. Save like literally 2 seats or so in the House of Representatives. So to look at the cojones on this federal government and what they're willing to try to push through without any sort of legitimate mandate of any kind, specifically in the House of Representatives, the Republicans gained a very impactful number of seats in this last election. There is no mandate here for some, America signing off for a social justice, a racial justice kind of program that could be, put into play through legislation in every turn that this government wants to take. We're an enormously divided country, which makes me think that in 2022, that we are going to have an opportunity to swing the pendulum back. And then if the Republicans gain control of the House, which I think they have a very likely chance to do, who knows what's going to happen in the Senate, but the Republicans do need to get one of those chambers, then it'll be gridlock. That's the best we can hope for right now. Gridlock would be fantastic. When you look at the list of things that are in this $1.9 trillion COVID bill, the American people who are suffering are not the priority. It is the government. It is the government structure that is in power. And it's something that we absolutely need to be paying very close attention to. Steve Scalise spoke on this bill. Listen to this.
Kids behind in this bill. It's a national crisis, and it's a national disgrace.
So the kids are not the focus of this bill. The students are not the focus of this bill. The business owners are not the focus of this bill. Everything that I've heard reported on this here recently has a lot to do with what we heard from Joe Biden earlier today, not too long ago today, talking about rearranging the PPP rules for people who are applying for the loans here to get access to this money to help their business. There is a lot of racial equity that is being employed here. As we continue to watch how this is going to unfold, moving into the future here, don't forget, what is it? It's February 22nd. President Biden has been president for a month. A month. Do you remember the Trump presidency, Katie? Do you remember what it was like to cover Donald Trump as president every day?
Yes, I do.
Do you have PTSD from this endeavor?
No, it was totally different than what they're doing right now with Biden. Totally different. And the speed in which they covered Trump was totally different than what they're doing with Biden.
I look at the when I go to gather sound clips or whatever that I send to Katie, I usually send Katie stuff the night before and send Katie stuff the day of, if it tickles my fancy, and she puts stuff together herself. But so much of what was discussed when Trump was president was the Trump part of whatever the issue was that we were facing as a country. If we were looking at a $1.9 trillion COVID bill that the President Trump put forward, we would be assessing Donald Trump's character based on the bill that was assembled that had Trump administration in front of it. When the Biden administration puts it forward, if you're on the Biden side of the aisle, you do the same thing, but you use it as a way to laud the character of Joe Biden. And it's important to look at the details and think, when you listen to Newt Gingrich and you say, if you're a state who has shut all the businesses down, if you're a state who has not done what you can to preserve businesses being open, if you're a state that has made bad policy in the last year, you're going to benefit from this bill greatly. And if you're a state that has stayed open, that has created a climate where businesses can, with the proper measures in place, stay in business and consumers can choose to or not to patronize these businesses, but it's up to the people of the state, and you aren't in an economic crisis because of it, you are going to pay for the states who didn't have their act together. That's what's going to happen here. And I'll tell you what, as a resident of Illinois who's been watching how Illinois government works for a really long time, there are people in charge of Illinois who have been waiting for this day. Their plan to get Illinois back on track has been waiting for the day when the Illinois disaster that is our economy gets bailed out by you, Missouri. Thank you so much for your generosity. It's embarrassing to be from a state that's going to look to its neighbors who had their head on straight, who did what they needed to do, who took risks, but followed science, who followed economic advisement, and allowed for fiscal responsibility to have some factor into how we do our business. In Illinois and California and New York, of course, it's special interests that drive how we do business. It's the unions who get to determine whether schools stay open or close. And don't forget, those unions are not the same as the teachers. It's the people who are in bed with the politicians who have the power. The power that the politicians have is empowered by the special interest groups, the lobbyists, the unions that subsidize them. And it is a cyclical situation, folks. And you are not at the center of concern for it. I thought Newt Gingrich did a good job of pointing that out. We're going to take a quick break. Can't wait to talk to Dr. Scott Hardeman. Didn't talk to him last week because it was a holiday. So we're going to talk to him. I'm hearing so many good numbers about the trajectory right now of COVID cases in our country. A scary number as well. We're approaching 500,000 deaths in the country. And how do we put that all together? What's it look like going forward? I heard someone speculate on herd immunity as well. And the timeline on that, I'll tell you this. It wasn't Dr. Fauci that was talking about it, but the timeline on the possibility of herd immunity might shock you. I'm going to play that for you when we come back, and we'll get some questions answered by Dr. Scott Hardeman, the nonpartisan, straight facts issues on COVID, coronavirus, mask wearing, everything. You send them to us on our Facebook Live or the Annie Fry YouTube channel. and we'll ask them. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Maybe you'll find something that's enough to keep you. But if the bright lights don't receive you,
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show.
Around and come on home.
Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
I got a hole in me.
Hey guys, Glover here. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market games without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the DGS.
So I'm excited to talk to you about another satisfied Stewart's American Mortgage Bagel Loan customer, and that's Bonnie, who let us know on Facebook. This is what she sent directly to me. Just closed on a refinance with Stewart. Great experience. Going to the bank takes more effort than refinancing with him. Take it from Bonnie if you're not going to take it from me. Working with Stewie is the way business is supposed to be done. Working with Stewie is the way you can get your refinance. That's super that everybody's shouting about right now, but you get the bagel loan only with Stewie, and that's where you pay none of those fees up front that all of those other lenders are going to charge you for. They charge you at the beginning of the process, and they give you, the low rate, the refinancing and everything, but then you've got all these fees. It makes the savings kind of counterintuitive. The fees don't exist on the bagel loan with Stewart's American Mortgage. It's called the bagel loan because it looks like a zero, and he charges you zero in fees. He doesn't tuck them away. He doesn't hide them. They're not there. Go check out the bagel loan with Stewie by calling 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440 online at stewartsamc.com and MLS number 226715.
Hello, everybody. This is Sean Rimmerman, your host of We're Having a Senior Moment every Saturday at 7 a.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. I also have this company, We're Comfort Care Home Care St. Louis, and we help people live their best lives possible. If you're struggling caring for a senior, if you're a senior who needs some care, give us a call at 314-965-9600 anytime, day or night. Again, 314-965-9600.
Got Medicaid? Got Medicare? Get more benefits. A dual special needs plan from United Healthcare gives you dental coverage, prescription drug coverage, prepaid debit card to buy over-the-counter products in store or for home delivery, plus additional credits to buy healthy food at many retailers and much more. If you have Medicaid and Medicare, there's more for you. Call 1-877-777-6919. That's 1-877-777-6919. Benefits and features vary by plan/area. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings or mail-in rebate. See store for details.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
At Ameren, Illinois, safety comes first. So before you start that landscaping project or install that new fence, call 811 to have underground gas lines and other utilities clearly marked. Because no outdoor project is worth getting hurt over. We're here to help get the job done safely so you can get back to enjoying your great outdoors. Ameren, Illinois. Energy at work.
Information to keep you moving. Dependable traffic, mornings and afternoons with Sue Thomas. Driven by Ambassador Midwest Floor Company. The best way to deal with in-home traffic. Experience more at Ambassador Midwest Floor.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah.
I think any scientist has to look at a 75% reduction in cases over the last 6 weeks and ask what's happening, because it cannot be explained by the vaccines. It cannot be explained by a sudden change in behavior. Herd immunity is not binary, Martha. It's not an all or nothing thing. And as more people get infected and as there's more natural immunity out there, there are fewer people left who are susceptible. And what we're seeing is that herd immunity has already kicked in. It's on a slope to be at very low levels of infection by April, and we add to that vaccinated immunity, we're about to see a very steep decline, and I think it's important to plan accordingly.
Well, that's Dr. Mockery from Johns Hopkins. He's a professor there, talking about how we will achieve a start towards herd immunity here in April. A 75% reduction in cases. I mean, considering the bad news that we have had to drink straight from the fire hose for the past year, these are some statements that should be welcomed with just wide open arms, if in fact they are true. Well, every Monday we welcome Dr. Scott Hardeman onto the show with us. He's a physician at Gateway ENT, an urgent specialist, and he comes to us to answer some medical questions without the partisan spin, which is basically everywhere else you look. Dr. Hardeman, thanks for coming back on the show. Good to have you here.
Hey, thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to get your reaction to what we heard Dr. Macquarie there talking about from Johns Hopkins. I don't know if you want to commit to a specific date on the calendar, which I would be willing to write on my calendar at home if you would, as to when we will touch herd immunity. But is it appropriate to be discussing those words right now? Because that's a lot of good news for a lot of people if it is.
Well, the phrase that he used that is binary, I think it's a pretty accurate depiction of that. But you can't deny the simple fact that cases are down 70 to 80% from where they were a few months ago. And if you look at there's, I believe, just shy of 30 million people in the country who have documented cases of coronavirus. But there are many studies that suggest that perhaps we're only capturing 1 in 4 of those. So you can pretty safely say that there's probably between 80 and 100, 110 million people in the country that have been exposed to this virus. On top of that, 30 or 40 million people that have at least received their first dose of vaccine. You've got a lot of the population that has some immunity at that point. And as we've talked all along during this process, that once you start to have less susceptible hosts to have this infection or virus jump from person to person, your transmission rate begins to rapidly decline, and it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. Although we just have to be mindful of potential variants, and could that factor into this? But I think he's correct. He's very well read as editor-in-chief of MedPage, and I've been privileged enough to see him speak a couple of times, and he really looks at the data in an aggregate way as well. And I think what he's saying is really true. I think what we're seeing is very optimistic, and hopefully that trend will continue here without any big shifts one direction or the other.
Doctor, you kind of touched on this, I think, a little bit in your answer there to that previous question. But, when I hear him say 75% reduction in cases, that's dramatic. And he says, you can't just attribute this to the vaccines, I should say, that have been rolled out. Do you have any suspicions as to why we would see such a drastic change here in February?
Well, you're correct in that you can't put all this on the back of the vaccines. It's many people have only received 1 dose of vaccine, although there's quite a good bit of evidence that the vaccine is close to 90% efficacious even after 1 dose. But we just haven't had enough time and enough people vaccinated yet to see that. So I think there is you have to look at this in an active way, because the folks who have had this, at least for the short term, do have some level of protection to this to prevent severe illness. And all of that helps to prevent transmission of disease going forward. The reinfection rate is significantly low. There was a study out of the UK that looked at reinfection rate was 1% in healthcare workers. And so if you kind of carry that over, just logically thinking, into the population, there's a good element of immunity that is developed in our population and around the world globally, just from having the virus itself. And then you add to that all the folks that are getting vaccinated. And that's, I'm pretty convinced myself that's really where the reason that we have such a dramatic downturn in cases now.
Dr. Scott Hardeman on the phone with us. A lot of questions about those variants you were talking about. Is it mutating down? Is it something we should concern ourselves with more? Is the vaccine covering those variants? Lots of questions like that from people.
Sure. I think, just briefly, let's just kind of talk through the concept of mutations that take place, because it's not uncommon for these viruses to mutate, as we've discussed before. And many of those mutations are just, little typos that take place as the virus is replicating. Not all mutations translate into a change in infectiousness or into its virulence. And some do, and it looks like there's a couple of strains, the Brazilian one, that seems to be perhaps more contagious and perhaps a bit more aggressive in its course. But these mutations take place at multiple places within there, and right now it seems, by and large, that the reinfection risk is not substantially higher with those variants, because there is a lot of commonality still between the virus and the antibodies that you have circulating to help fight that off. So the variants are there. I think we just need to be mindful, though. Of those. They're not in high numbers, at least in our country, fortunately. We're surveying more and more for those all the time. But, in countries where they seem to be more prominent, we're still not seeing high reinfection rates, or at least real severe disease if there is an occasional recurrence.
So, Dr. Hardeman, when it comes to the vaccine rollout, there have been a lot of criticisms surrounding how it's been rolled out, whose priority, under the list of the waves that we need to roll this out. But of course, as we always promote this specific segment, a lot of those criticisms are usually in the political realm. I'm curious, from your medical experience and expertise, we are about a year out of starting to really sound the alarm on panic about this becoming a global, worldwide pandemic. And now we are disseminating second doses of vaccines. President Biden himself got the second dose on January 10th. So what's your medical opinion about the disbursement of vaccines in this country and how we've done so far?
Well, the mere fact that we've gotten this point, I think, in such a short period of time to have vaccines against something that's affecting the world in such a way is astounding to begin with. But there are supply and demand issues. You have a global population that we're trying to vaccinate at least a good portion of that, and just break that down just to the microcosm of the United States. Right now I think we're vaccinating around 1.5 million people a day, which in theory will take a while to get to a large percentage, 70-80%, which is what Dr. Fauci and those are recommending vaccinating. But it's a challenging thing to do. The production is boosting. I think we're kind of over the hump as far as distribution centers and where the vaccine will able to be obtained if you want to get that. And to the general public, for folks that are not in the highest risk category or those that are not on the front lines, it won't be too much longer before it's pretty readily available at those walk-in facilities like that. And I think as more vaccines come online too, with J&J, which is still pending its EUA approval from the FDA at this point, hopefully that will come relatively soon. And then Dr. McCary, he goes into some details about talking about if there's some benefit to perhaps delaying the second shot of vaccine. In the UK, they're delaying as much as 12 weeks between doses of vaccine, because a single dose is actually pretty effective at generating neutralizing antibodies and also preventing severe disease. And so you can extend your supply of vaccine, if you will, to more people. And really we should be focusing our attention on those that are most vulnerable, those over 65, where about 75 to 80% of the mortality actually occurs.
Is the second dose of the vaccine the exact same as the first, or is the second? So if I go to get my second dose before Ryan gets his first dose, could my second dose, is that the same thing as what Ryan's first dose could be?
I believe it is, yes. I don't think there was some discussion with the AstraZeneca vaccine about receiving a half dose on the first go round and then a full dose the second go round. But I believe with Pfizer and Moderna, it's a very similar dose that you're receiving. Yeah.
Okay.
For those of us, Dr. Hardeman, who've had COVID and who are, touting our immunity and wanting to be free, I've heard a lot of people talking about how immunity is sort of a stair step, that it's not necessarily you have immunity or you don't, that you have maybe a % immunity. Is that right?
I think it's a pretty good conclusion at this point, because we just don't see high rates of reoccurrence, that those that have had coronavirus, sort of the natural way, if you will, that you have a pretty good period of time, at least that we're looking at now, out to 8 to 9 months or so, where you have strong antibody levels and T-cell recognition of that to be able to regenerate antibodies. But, with every day, as the further we get into this, of course, that continues to be looked at. Initially, we talked about how it was around 3 or 4 months or so, and that was because we were 3 or 4 months into it. And now we've seen folks that have had long-lasting antibody levels, and with also the ability to check T-cell immunity to this, there's pretty good evidence that having the infection in a normal, healthy individual without a lot of other comorbid issues who can develop a normal response to that have very robust immunity to this. And, there's many out there, and I would put myself in the category that I think if you've had the vaccine, or you've had the virus rather, and are fully recovered and feel well, and it's within that first 3 to 4, 5, 6 months or so, you should feel pretty confident at that point. And if folks are wanting to get vaccinated, while there's no harm in getting vaccinated in that stage, letting that supply catch up so we can protect those most vulnerable is also not a bad thought.
Dr. Hardeman, what is the medical medical thing that I don't understand about Dr. Fauci saying, I hear the Johns Hopkins professor talking about we're getting close to talking about herd immunity as far as April goes, and Dr. Fauci is saying we're going to be wearing masks into 2022, and I don't even know how many masks I'm supposed to wear at the same time right now. What is the medical? I understand the social courtesy, which is way different than what should be discussed when we're talking about mandates, but why would a medical professional suggest that we all need to be wearing masks into 2022 with so much of this good information that we've been discussing so far?
Well, I think his premise behind that is trying not to let guard down too soon from this, and also letting some of these things like vaccine distribution catch up, as well as getting a sense of if these variants will have much of an impact on immunity from the vaccines or natural immunity. To be honest, I think there's an element of this where they're making regulations and rules in an attempt to sort of take one extreme to a protection just because there's no gray zone in between. It's at least what's perceived out there. I think the masking, the social distancing, the gatherings, all of these things, if we continue to see dramatic declines in case numbers the way we have, of course, over the next 3 months or so, 2 to 3 months or so, I would be hard-pressed to think that they're going to continue with some of these onerous regulations or certainly lockdowns in states, just because we will have caught up to a large degree with vaccine distribution and with the natural immunity that's taking place out there. So, I don't know that I can really get into the mindset of what they're shooting for, but I think at the end of the day, I think they're taking kind of a one direction, very strong approach to this, saying let's not back down our guard. Let's let these vaccine distribution catch up and try and get us to a more stable footing than just sort of saying, hey, we've made it over the hump and now we can open things back up again. You can understand that argument for where we've been, but at the same time, I think people are weary of all of this. And as folks get vaccinated more, and if you've had it more, I think there are many experts out there that are saying, look, we can start to relax a little bit of this direct mask intervention takes place in close proximity to one another once you've had the vaccine. The transmission was not largely studied in the vaccine studies, but it only stands to reason that if you're developing neutralizing antibodies, the likelihood that you can harbor the virus and transmit it to other people once you've been vaccinated or have had it before is awfully rare.
Well, it is absolutely a public health crisis. It's also a mental health crisis. It's also an economic crisis. So we have to consider all of those factors for sure as we go through this. But we always appreciate getting that medical perspective from you. We're going to take a quick break. Doctor, hold on the line, because when we come back, we've got people asking questions that we want to relay to you. If you have a question, you can comment it on the Annie Fry Show Facebook Live, taking place right now. Also, go to the Annie Fry YouTube channel. We're getting very close to 2,000 subscribers there. Would love to have you join us. You can watch the show and comment your question for Dr. Hardeman on the live chat, either on the Annie Fry YouTube channel or the Facebook page. And when you do that, we will field those questions to Dr. Hardeman as soon as we come back and get some real answers. Stick around. Dr. Hardeman answers questions in just a minute.
Wasting time.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
I left my home in Georgia.
Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Frisco Bay. I've had up.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 52 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of the Gelman team of Coldwell Banker Premier. If you need to buy and sell a home right now, it can seem very, very complicated with a lack of inventory on the market, COVID, everything. You need to use someone who you can trust. I trust the Gelmans. Why? I've known them for many, many years. I've never had a single complaint. I have used them to buy and sell real estate, so I'm an actual client. They have a team ready to notify you the moment that your ideal home comes on the market. They have negotiated thousands of home sales and can make sure that you are a non-contingent, since they can guarantee your home will close on time, so you can buy your new home or they may buy it outright from you. No matter what the value of your home is, you get the same marketing plan that sells more homes over $500,000 than any agent in St. Louis. I trust the Gelman team, and so can you. Call 314-336-1991 or go online to thegelmanteam.com. That's thegelmanteam.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Last year, our average client saved almost $350 a month with an easy rate reduction refinance. What would you do with an extra $300 to $400 a month? Start paying down the credit card debt? Buy the car you've wanted for years? Or maybe take your family on that much-needed vacation? Let's see how much money we can save you. thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Say thank you to your home for being there for you. Start with a free estimate from your neighborhood CertaPro painters. We really understand how you feel about your home. That's why you can count on us to take care of every detail. Listening, prepping, painting. It's always worry-free with our expert painting team. Whatever project you have in mind, count on CertaPro painters doing the job beautifully. Schedule your free estimate now at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun. Always walking around with a headache.
Now her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, headaches? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates. Call 618-206-5935. 618-206-5935. That's 618-206-5935.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you have heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple on the station as the financial expert for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend on 97.1 FM Talk, and in case you miss any of those shows, on his podcast on radio.com. That's radio.com, and search Safe Money 97.1. So call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Del Walmsley talks about positive cash flow tax-free.
I bought one little rent house. So a month later, I bought 3 more. Now I started receiving even more positive cash flow. $880 a month positive cash flow after just 2 months. This cash flow was tax-free because of the way I did it. Because if you know how to do it the right way, you won't pay taxes on that.
Give yourself a raise tax-free. Find out how at Lifestyles Unlimited's live online pre-workshop. Register today at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
You can listen to 97.1 on radio.com through your smart speaker. It's information with perspective. Just ask it to play 97.1 FM Talk, powered by Dell Technologies. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Am I dreaming or stupid? I think I've been hit by you, baby. No one needs to know right now. I'm in a tall, dark.
So if you combine getting most of the people in the country vaccinated with getting the level of virus in the community very, very low, then I believe you're going to be able to say, you know, for the most part, we don't necessarily have to wear masks. But if we have a level of virus that is at that level that it was months and months ago, like 20,000 per day is a heck of a lot better than what it's been. But that's still very high level of virus in the community. I want to see it go way down. When it goes way down and the overwhelming majority of the people in the population are vaccinated, then I would feel comfortable in saying, we need to pull back on the masks. We don't need to have masks.
So that's Dr. Fauci commenting about how long we need to be wearing masks. Lots of different factors going into how these decisions will be made, of course, but important to know what all of the experts are saying. We have our own resident expert, Dr. Scott Hardeman, who joins us each Monday to answer non-partisan in a nonpartisan way questions about this virus and how it's affecting us and where we might be going with it. He's a physician at Gateway ENT, also with urgent specialists. First question I have for you from a listener who messaged the show wants to know about schools, getting kids back in schools, and asks if there's any scientific reason at this point in time, especially with considering the fact that we have had kids, in parochial schools or private schools be in the entire school year. Any reason why science says we need to hold back on this still?
Short answer, no. I think there's great examples going back even into the spring of last year in countries where they kept their schools open with some pretty strict precautions, but kept them open. And then, as you mentioned here, we've got 4 to 5, maybe even 6 months worth of data now showing that schools can open safely, kids can get back to in-person learning, taking certain precautions there. Even the CDC has a playbook now and recommendations on how to get back to school. I think it's a pretty foregone conclusion that most all agree that it's time to do that, but we're still getting a lot of pushback from the unknown and just people worried and concerned and fearful, I think. And I think we're at a point that, you look back at where we've come from and realize that it can absolutely be done safely.
A reminder, too, that you can submit your questions right now on Facebook, the Facebook Live or the AnyFry YouTube channel, and we will field them to the doctor. Just go put them in the live chat. Ryan, go ahead.
Yep, this question comes from Joyce on Facebook. Should someone with autoimmune disease get the COVID shot? Could the proteins in the vaccine cause the immune system to turn on itself and attack other organs?
Well, that's a big unknown, and I think that's generally where some of the vaccine hesitation comes from with this. But there isn't any real data to suggest that that's necessarily the case at this point. There's a lot of theories that are circulating out there about teaching our body to produce a spike protein and then developing antibodies to it that could potentially implant and trigger some sort of autoimmune event down the road a piece. But it just doesn't seem that has really played out yet. There's still a lot of study going on with these vaccines currently, and there's other vaccine technology that won't necessarily have a potential concern of that coming out soon. But I think with autoimmune issues, I think there is you should always have a conversation with your doctor that's managing that particular condition, because everybody's different, and also having certain allergies to adjuvants and things within the vaccine could be a concern. But I don't really think that there's a whole lot of evidence, real scientific evidence yet, to suggest that there's a potential risk for some sort of autoimmune issue. But on a case-by-case basis, you hear about these things happening out there in society right now. And as I mentioned, they're continuing to rigorously grab information off of everyone that's been vaccinated to make sure that if any adverse events do arise, that they get identified quickly.
Mark on Facebook says most vaccines for a virus use the virus itself to fight against it. What makes this vaccine different, since they did not use the virus in the vaccine?
Yeah, so the 2 vaccines that are currently approved are the mRNA vaccines, which essentially use an adjuvant type particle to transmit through the cell membrane, taking that messenger RNA, which is the genetic code effectively for the spike protein, which is on the surface of the virus and what it binds. And then it encodes and teaches your cells to produce that spike protein, which we then develop antibodies and T cell recognition for that, as well as some memory recognition of that. That is different. The J&J vaccine uses a different technology, as does AstraZeneca. They use viral vector technology, so still taking a genetic code, one of which is DNA, one is RNA in those vaccines, and uses an adenovirus that's been inactivated, but a virus that can get through the cell and then present that information. And then the next, probably closest vaccine to be evaluated after that is from a company called Novavax, which uses just a recombinant or synthetically produced spike protein on the outside of an adjuvant that just is presented into your system. And think of it as a foreign body recognition. Your body identifies it and just mounts in response to that. So The two that are out there currently don't use virus, but the J&J and AstraZeneca will use a viral vector to get the genetic code into your cells.
We're speaking with Dr. Scott Hardeman, physician at Gateway ENT and urgent specialist. Question from our YouTube page. Brad asked, does the immune system have a memory? Can it rapidly produce antibodies for a past infection?
It does have a memory, and we're counting on the fact that that memory is robust with many illnesses so that we don't see reinfections of many things. Sometimes it requires a little tweaking and presentation of a slight, in this case, variant of the virus so that we can educate our immune system a little differently, but it absolutely does have memory. So having antibody levels that fall down the road a piece, if we continue to track and it turns out that that's the case, that's not the end of the story. There's a memory bank there that I can identify that and can quickly ramp up production of that. In fact, I read something yesterday that talked about that identified a handful of people from the Spanish flu from decades and decades ago, and they were able to identify some memory T cell activity against the Spanish flu from that much time later. So it's different for all viruses, and there are a lot of other factors to the immune system. Of course, it's not as simple as that, but the moral of the story is that yes, we can count on not just rapid production of antibodies, but also memory of that so that in the future, if you're challenged with the virus or through a vaccine booster, that you quickly ramp your body up to produce antibodies that neutralize that again.
Kevin on Facebook says, Andy, a question for the doctor. Does your blood type affect the chances of infection?
Not really infection per se, but there are some anecdotal reports out there that suggest that I believe it's type O have a better outcome with this. We've kind of used the phrase causation versus association, and I don't think it's really been determined just yet, but it is being looked at heavily. At this point, there does seem to be a slight association between those, but whether or not it's the real story or not, it's hard to know.
I want to follow up too. If you know your blood type, that's something that you can't really change or do anything about, but you can.
That's right.
We've talked about this several times, and it bears repeating. Things that we can do at home to prep ourselves to be the healthiest we can be in the event we do come in contact with this virus. Just an opportunity for you to reiterate those things for the listeners right now.
Right. I think it's important too, because everything we've just been talking about has been basically either mitigation or some sort of strategy to develop an immunity through vaccination or infection, natural pathways. There are things that have been looked at pretty heavily, not just with this virus, but in general. Vitamin D obviously has been something that has been associated, low vitamin D levels, with a much poorer outcome. Whether or not it necessarily stops you from getting the infection or not, I would say that's probably not a foregone conclusion, or makes your immune system more robust to fight it off. Certainly, vitamin D seems to be associated with better outcomes. So taking supplemental vitamin D, taking supplemental zinc, which has been studied for decades to have an antiviral property if it can get to the source where the virus is replicating. There's some other supplements out there, such as elderberry and quercetin and a few other things that can be taken to try and get that zinc more intracellularly. And then vitamin C as well as kind of an immune booster, or just overall help for your immune system to be able to fight things off. You're probably seeing a few things out there and say, oh, these have been studied and studied and studied, and now they're showing that they don't really have much of an impact. But those studies tend to be really in hospitalized, very ill patients. Having this and having a mild case of recovering, is a good outcome in the grand scheme of things. I think it's crazy to think that we can just forever neutralize this to where there's 100% no risk of anything whatsoever. We're going to be exposed to this. It's going to be around for a while. And so taking precautions to boost your immune system to avoid things that we know are associated with more severe case, I think is important to do.
Dr. Scott Hardeman, physician at Gateway ENT and urgent specialist. Just a follow-up question about schools that we were talking about a little earlier in this segment. With kids, the vaccine has not been tested on kids, if I'm correct. And if that's the case, are we moving toward that direction? Or in your professional opinion, are kids really okay because they have the best reaction to COVID?
Well, they certainly seem to fare better and to not be necessarily that vector to transmit illness as much as what was concerned back in March and April or last year. Vaccine is starting to be studied. They're even, in our locale at WashU, I believe they're beginning a study down to, I want to say 6 years of age, if I read that correctly. Right now, I believe it's Pfizer is indicated to 16 and Moderna is 18, I believe that's correct. But it hasn't largely been studying kids, but is beginning and is going to be ongoing for quite some time. Children generally, kids certainly less than 14 or 15 years of age, generally do very well with this. There is some potential evidence that having been exposed to other coronavirus creates some level of passive immunity to this that helps to perhaps neutralize the infection before it really has a chance to take hold. It certainly seems as if they've not been the concern. And of course, there are reported cases that I don't mean to say that, but it just seems like the impact has been substantially less than what was initially feared. And also that the outcomes of those, 15 to 18 years of age and younger are actually good with this.
Well, Dr. Hardeman, a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for coming on with us. We appreciate this conversation every Monday. Everybody. We hear so much positive feedback when we have you on here, and it's great to have that straight answer about this thing that affects all of our lives, top to bottom. So we appreciate you, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. He's a physician at Gateway ENT, also at Urgent Specialist. UrgentSpecialist.com, the very best in urgent care here. I've driven across the river multiple times to utilize that place because I trust it. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see if Stephen Moore is available to talk to us about the stimulus plan. $1.9 trillion COVID stimulus bill. Less than 10% goes to public health. I wonder what he's going to think about that. We'll be right back.
Home warranty. I know, right? Buying coverage for appliances, your heater and AC, etc., from a company that hopes you never ever have a claim or call. Let me introduce you to a real home warranty company, the kind that actually wants to help you. Upkeep Home Warranty and Maintenance. Upkeep visits your home 4 times a year to maintain your appliances and equipment. You will never get a lack of maintenance denial because Upkeep does the maintenance. Also nice, Upkeep assigns you one point person to help you. You won't be passed around like an office hot potato, and you won't get subcontractors. Upkeep does all their work, so there's no blame game. Just experts helping you. Visit upkeepstl.com today and type in 971 for $100 off. Don't be denied. Instead, be relieved. Upkeep Home Warranty and Maintenance. 636-387-7331.
Keep up your home with Upkeep. Keep up your home with Upkeep. Keep up your home with Upkeep, and you'll have a happy home.
Hi, I'm Bill. And I'm Mike. We've been friends since second grade, and nearly 20 years ago, we started Universal Windows Direct. Over the years, our windows have helped homeowners lower their energy bills and create secure, comfortable homes.
Now, for every one window you buy, you get the next one for free, plus no payments and no interest for 2 years.
So don't wait. Call 314-696-5909 or click universalwindowsdirect.com and you'll be saying, I love my windows.
You just got the diagnosis, mesothelioma. You, your husband, your father, maybe your wife or your mother. So what's next? Call Cooney & Conway, the mesothelioma law firm. You have rights, and there's money available for victims and their families, even if the exposure to asbestos was 40 or 50 years ago. But you'll need a specialized firm like Cooney & Conway who understands what your family's going through and has a record of successful verdicts and large settlements. Go to CooneyConway.com and call for a free consultation. CooneyConway.com.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Weather with Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Kicking off the new week, and with great news, there's no big storms, no big cold in sight. On this Monday, partly sunny skies, 50 degrees for the high. Tonight, clear skies, 35. But a wintertime heat wave on Tuesday, 59, 60 for the high. Wednesday, partly sunny, 50. Thursday, sunny, 59, 60 degrees. Friday, sunny, and 45. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
The story with Cuomo. Every time I see this guy in an interview, he seems to dig the hole a little bit deeper.
Dude, there's paperwork. When it's written down, and, the Democrats are talking about it here in the great state of New York. And it looks like the walls are caving in, and CNN, if they didn't report on it, Chris Cuomo's not going to report on his brother and stuff like that. So, something should happen.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. KFTK FM Florissant. K254CR St. Louis. Driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group. 97.1 FM Talk. A radio.com station.
Another chance for small businesses. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The president announcing what's billed as an improvement to a pandemic loan program that's helped millions of businesses, but was criticized for not allowing easier access to some of the smallest operations. Fox's Rachel Sutherland has more live.
Lisa, businesses with fewer than 20 employees can apply for Paycheck Protection Program loans during an exclusive 2-week period starting on Wednesday. President Biden says his administration is also easing restrictions for qualifying for the forgivable loans.
We're making it so that a student loan default or a non-fraud related criminal record does not prohibit someone from applying for the program.
The president says the changes to the program are designed to make sure we look out for the mom and pop businesses even more than we have. Lisa?
Thanks, Rachel. Meantime, the president also making another pitch for Congress to pass more COVID relief as a debate continues over the price tag. The White House says President Biden is standing by his nominee for budget chief and still sees a path to confirmation, despite some bipartisan opposition to Neera Tanden, who apologized at her confirmation hearing for past social media attacks on lawmakers. Republican Senators Susan Collins and Mitt Romney say they will vote against confirmation. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin has also expressed opposition. A confirmation hearing today for Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland.
The role of the Attorney General is to serve the rule of law and to ensure equal justice under law.
Garland telling senators he would make policing and civil rights priorities and fight extremist attacks, including overseeing prosecution of the Capitol riot suspects. He also says he has not spoken to the president about the Hunter Biden tax probe, and he offered reassurance to Republicans he has no plans to end a special counsel's investigation into the origins of the Russia probe. America is listening to Fox News.
So much is happening, but who can you trust? You need to check out Newsmax TV, the fastest growing news channel in America. Watch it on all major cable systems and see shows with Sean Spicer, Greg Kelly, Lindsey Keith, Stinchfield, and Rob Schmidt. They're giving you the real story on Biden and Pelosi. So download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone now or watch Newsmax on Roku, YouTube, Pluto, Zumo, and more. 30 million Americans watch Newsmax TV. So should you.
I hired nuptial num-nums to cater my wedding, and it was a disaster. Everyone was raving about the food instead of my dress.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
They're like, oh, Veronica, the lamb chops. Did the lamb chops fly you out to Cancun?
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
I will not be hiring them for my next wedding.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Weather with Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
We can hear the snow melting away this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze, 50 to 55 for the high today. Tonight, clear skies, 35. On Tuesday, sunny, even warmer, 59, 60 will do it for the high temperature. Wednesday, partly sunny and 50, with nighttime lows staying above freezing. Boy, the snow is going to disappear very quickly. This is 97.1 FM Talk Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Tune in to Right at Home with Rich every Saturday from noon to 1 p.m. This Mosby Building Arts Home Show covers topics ranging from design and architecture to remodeling and home maintenance. For answers to all of your home questions, don't miss Right at Home with Rich, brought to you by Mosby Building Arts.
Join Thomas Helbig of the Retirement Advisory Group for the Protecting Your Retirement educational event. Here's what you got to mark down on your calendar, and you're going to need to call and reserve your spot. It's Tuesday, March 2nd at the Frontenac Hilton, 6:30 p.m. in the evening. Thomas is not going to take a ton of your time. Your whole evening isn't going to be sucked up by this. It's usually like a 30 or 45-minute presentation tops. You call and reserve your spot at 855-755-1555. 855-755-1555. Tuesday, March 2nd at the Frontenac Hilton. He will help you feel that confidence, that certainty that you need going into your retirement, that all your hard work's going to be there to pay off when the time comes to retire. There's so much uncertainty in the world. Of course, we cover that on a regular basis here every day. And Thomas Helbig is aware of that. Help him learn and get to know you and see what he has to say. You'll be so glad you did. So many Annie Fry Show listeners have already signed up with Thomas Helbig, and I love hearing from you when you do. Sign up today for this event. It's a wonderful one. 855-755-1555, retirementkey.com.
Hello, Marvin Mitchell here from Compass Retirement Solutions. Did you know that the average 3-year CD rate in the area was less than 1%? That's why we are excited to offer you several accounts that are short-term and pay better than bank rates. For example, we currently have a 3-year account paying 2.4% and a 5-year account paying 3.5% per year guaranteed. What a great place for your lazy money. You know, the money that you don't plan to use for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, terms and conditions do apply. So for more information, call 314-373-1598. Again, call 314-373-1598. This is Marvin Mitchell, and we would like to put your lazy money to work for you. Call 314-373-1598.
Guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Rates can change without notice. Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Bomarito, Missouri's #1 automotive group, has the largest selection of pre-owned vehicles. All makes, models, and price ranges. Plus, every vehicle up to 100,000 miles includes the most comprehensive warranty in the market. Motor Trend certified vehicles powered by Bomarito. Buy a pre-owned vehicle worry-free with peace of mind. The best backed pre-owned vehicles in America are Motor Trend certified vehicles powered by Bomarito. Now at every Bomarito location or 24/7 at Bomarito.com.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health From Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health From Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
February is for lovers, and you'll love our garage door tune-up price, just $89.95 just in February. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis will perform their 26-point tune-up on up to 3 garage doors and openers. The Overhead Door brand is celebrating 100 years, a legacy of greatness. Always look for the genuine, the original red ribbon of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Schedule your tune-up online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
Are you sick and tired of your janitorial company not meeting your expectations? Call Jan Pro of St. Louis, the commercial cleaning company you can count on. Have you had it with your cleaning guys not showing up? Call Jan Pro of St. Louis to get the job done. The Jan Pro cleaning and disinfection process guarantees satisfaction for a wide range of industries and budgets through quality, technology, and a measurement for a consistent clean every time. Tired of no follow-up? Call Jan Pro of St. Louis, 314-989-9977. Trusted clean guaranteed.
For everything that's happening, with analysis that's free and fair. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Don't miss a minute. Download the radio.com app or stream the station live anytime through your smart speaker. The Annie Fry Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, Sid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Of course, after the art of the deal comes the art of the comeback, and I believe that the future of the GOP is another candidacy for President Trump in 2024. I'm here in South Florida. I spent a couple hours with the 45th president yesterday, and he has a focus and a fighting spirit that is totally in line with the level of dedication and patriotism he had while he served as president of the United States. And he was talking absolutely like a candidate, but I have to push back and disagree with an element of your monologue, Steve. I don't see a Republican Party that is entirely united.
So there's Matt Gaetz talking about the future of the Republican Party and saying that the future of the Republican Party rests in a 2024 run by President Trump. I still think it's incredibly too soon to be making those types of judgments, those types of assessments. I understand what Matt Gaetz is doing. I understand why he thinks that. And I also understand that there is a large contingent of people who agree with that. We just had near 75 million people vote for President Trump and do so with great excitement and passion, some with some reluctance. But the people who voted for Donald Trump reluctantly because of what the alternative was going to do or could do, man, they're getting affirmed today and every day that has led up to this. If you were like, well, I just can't, some of these far leftist policies that the other side wants to implement, I'm not for that. Now you're going, I'm really not for that, and yet here we are. So for anybody who wants to, at this point in time, it is February 22nd, 2021. Joe Biden is in his infancy of his presidency. For anybody who wants to determine what needs to take place in order for Republicans to win in 2024, we have no idea in 2024 what the American people are going to want or not want. Because listen, after Mitt Romney lost, people were not going, it's got to be a guy like Donald Trump. We didn't even know Donald Trump was like on the menu at the time. Heck, I don't think a lot of people realized halfway through the primary that Donald Trump actually participated in, that this was a legitimate thing to consider. And look what he was able to do as a president of the United States. So I don't think that we can say that he is it or he isn't it. But anybody out there telling you that the Republican Party should just, cut bait with Donald Trump and move on without him, that he's yesterday's news, is paying zero attention to what the American people who supported him and his policies voted for. They are negating the entire movement that spawned Donald Trump, which is the anti-establishment movement, the anti-Mitch McConnell of, Mitch McConnells of the world. Like, oh my gosh, nothing makes me want to bash my head into the wall more than Democrats who are like, Republicans really need to follow the lead of the Mitt Romneys of the world, because they think that Mitt Romney's the guy who's out there who's willing to work on a bipartisan basis. He's very rarely willing to work aggressively to espouse highly conservative views that I'm involved in. So I'm pretty much done with the Democratic Party telling Republicans how to Republican. You can take a seat. I don't need you over here. You do you. You guys got some issues on your side of the aisle that you need to work out. You've got the AOCs of the world and the, what if everybody was like, well, if every Democrat was like Joe Manchin, well, not every Democrat is representing West Virginia. Not every Democrat would get to continue to be an elected Democrat if they acted like Joe Manchin. That's the beauty of our government, is that it's set up in a way that is supposed to most closely represent you. Not what the party says it's supposed to do. The party is supposed to listen to you and then act accordingly. And I have a hard time paying attention to any of the people shouting at us right now. Matt Gaetz possibly included, saying that this is what the future of the Republican Party has to be. Now is the time to have the discussions about what the Republican Party stands for. What are the issues that the Republican Party, what are the hills we're willing to die on? What are the things we're willing to compromise on? We could have those conversations, but let's really get out of the business and the practice of worshiping the people who lead us. Like we're putting our accolades and our affection in the wrong place. We are what matters. And until we demand people to listen to us, until we demand that the attention is paid to us and not that we are sitting here trying very hard to, pick who's going to be our next leader and who's going to represent us the closest. And my neighbor says they vote Republican, but they don't vote Republican like me. Like, this is not a productive process. It's cannibalistic in the worst figurative kind of way. Because what it ends up doing is assuring everybody that they'll lose. What is it? Is his last name Steele, the former RNC director, is saying if Trumpers want to start their own party, go for it. See ya. Don't let the door hit you. He's also like one of, I think it's CNN's, main go-to correspondent, former RNC spokesperson or whatever. And it's like, he's not speaking for us anymore. Former. Why? I wonder why that is. Do we ask questions about that? Why is he the one who's out there? Michael Steele, that's his name. Why is he the one that's out there as the go-to for who has their finger on the pulse of conservative America today? I think I have my finger on the pulse of conservative America today. And I know that it's wide ranging because you message me on a regular basis to the show page. You send me things that are important to you. You explain why it's important to you. You comment, you call, you contact, you email. And to me, it's anytime I hear one person pounding their fist on the table saying, this is the way it needs to be. You're shouting. And people are trying to talk to you, but you can't hear them because you're shouting so much.
What makes me laugh about that, Annie, is that last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of hubbub surrounding Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and the controversy that was happening with those two gentlemen. And that was a huge question that I was seeing posed on a lot of news networks and social media. Are you a Mitch McConnell Republican or are you a Donald Trump Republican? And I'm like, there are so many other different types of Republicans in this party that are great examples that are totally different than Mitch McConnell and totally different than Donald Trump. And if we just say you have to be this or that, then we're causing even more division within our own party.
Yeah. And it doesn't change anybody's mind. You said something, I think it was Friday on the show. Why did you talk about Meghan McCain? You brought Meghan McCain up for some reason.
Yeah, she said that the only good Republicans are Democrats that are accepted in the news media.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I wish we could play it back. You said Meghan McCain, and you said something like, I love my girl, she's my favorite, or something like that. And I shuddered a little bit. I'm not a Meghan McCain fan, which Katie knows.
I know.
And you know, but this is important, folks. This is something you need to understand right now. Katie's in her late 20s and she likes Meghan McCain. For whatever reason, Katie likes Meghan McCain. That's a lot different than liking Joy Reid, folks. That's a lot different than liking, what is her name? Sunny Houston or something like that, Austin. Like, this is the party where if you're somebody who cannot stand the last name McCain, you need to understand that if Meghan McCain is Katie's favorite person, and at the end of the day, when Katie goes to fill out a ballot, if Katie chooses to vote for the same people that you do, you're on the same team. And both are necessary. And anybody who's going to say, anybody who could support Meghan McCain or John McCain, they don't belong in this party. Why do you hate yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you cut off your nose to spite your face to make a point because you need it to be exactly the way you need it to be? We talk about people. We talk about officials. We've celebritized them. We've worked on making them famous. We've made them very, very, very rich in the process. And at the end, we can't agree on anybody who represents all of us because they're representing themselves and the position that they want to be in. They're not representing values. They're not representing political positions. They're polling people. They're using words that get polled to make sure that what they say sounds, it tickles your ear so that when you hear it, you're like, that's my guy or that's my girl. They said exactly what I want to hear. They test words, folks. They pay lots of money to determine whether or not if I use this word or if I use that word, which is more preferable to the voters. They're using us. And in so many cases, look at the career ones, they're using us for their own personal benefit and gain. At the end, I mean, I'm looking at everybody on the left and the right now, like real people like you. Nobody's happy. Nobody's satisfied. Nobody who is out there wondering if their job is safe. Nobody who's out there who's wondering if their business is safe, if their health is safe. Nobody out there who is wondering if their kids are safe, if their kids are going to be going back to school, is looking at a political party and be like, man, they are just nailing it, just left and right. They just get it right every time. Everybody is PO'd because the people aren't the center of this issue, and it's a bipartisan problem. I'm much more invested in the Republicans getting their act together. As far as I'm concerned, the Democrats can continue to infight as long as they want. But when you consider the fact that all of these, you know, this person's the future of the party and that person's the future of the party, my question is always, well, if you're correct about who the future of the party is, how do you benefit? How does the person talking to me about who I need to support as the future of the party, where that election's not going to happen for 3.5 years, folks, longer than that, 3 years and like 10 months or something like that. That election is not going to take place for that long. Look what took place in the last year. And look how drastically of a 180, how quickly we completed this 180 from where we were going to where we are right now. So spare me who I have to support right now, because usually those things come with sign up here for email newsletters where you can make donations. Nah, not interested in it. Why don't you make a donation to me, my future, and my kids' future? Why don't you not spend $1.9 trillion on a COVID stimulus bill where less than 10% of it actually goes to public health? Oh, and there's also some like underground railroad that's going to take place to connect Silicon Valley on the West Coast in a COVID stimulus bill. Are you kidding me? Well, we're going to talk to Stephen Moore about that when we come back. Glad to have him on the show with Freedom Works. He's going to lay out for us what this plan is, how it's going to help us, or likely hurt us when we come back. Stephen Moore in just a minute. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the Mark Cox Morning Show.
You know, it's funny, when I set the appointment for Closet Factory to come out to my house to assess my master closet, that's what we're going to look at. She talked about all of the other things with me that they do. And I had looked on their website and realized they do a ton of different organizational stuff. Of course, they're called the Closet Factory, and you can check them out online at closetfactory.com. But they don't just do custom closets. It's expanding way beyond that. And they are so good at what they do. How is your garage when it comes to organization? Mine's a disaster. Chances are, if you haven't had some custom storage put into your garage, there's a place where, you know, you collect your tools, you collect your lawn care items, whatever it is, your car items, but it's not organized, kind of like an organized mess. Did you know the Closet Factory can help you with that? They can also help you with entertainment center issues or laundry room disasters. The Closet Factory is waiting for your phone call, and they are coming out to my house this evening. Got delayed a couple times because of the weather, but I cannot wait to pick their brain and see what their ideas are for my space. And I'm going to share that with you as well. So make sure that you follow us on our Facebook page, because I will be updating you there on my before and eventual after with Closet Factory. 314-961-4300 is the number to call. 314-961-4300. Mention the Annie Fry Show when you reach out to them online at closetfactory.com.
Puppies have been really hard to come by because, let's face it, demand is up. Mark Cox here. If you've been waiting to add a new furry member to your family this holiday, visit my friends at Petland. We're all home more right now, which makes this a great time to get a Petland puppy. The owners, Tom and Jeff, have amazing relationships. They can offer the best selection of puppies in Missouri. That's Petland at 6131 Ronald Reagan Drive in Lake St. Louis. Go to petlandstl.com.
The Med Spa at the Institute of Natural Health understands how difficult it is to maintain healthy skin and how much this can affect someone's life. With the right combination of treatments and products, they can help you keep your skin looking healthy and more youthful, while also reducing and preventing damage. Take your first step towards healthy skin at the Med Spa at the Institute of Natural Health. Visit them at inhstl.com or call to schedule at 314-293-8123. That's 314-293-8123.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. The time is now to be proactive about your home or business exterior. Stay ahead of the spring and summer rush. Call today before kids' ball games get rolling, school's out, vacations start. Perfect for aluminum, steel, stucco, hardy sidings, and more. Rhino Shield waterproofs and insulates. Deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays. Comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only company used by Disney, HGTV's Curb Appeal, and This Old House shows. Obviously, we do big things. We coat flat and metal roofs to extend their lives. We've got a superior product and a great reputation. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? If the intent is to do something in 2020, make the vision perfect with Rhino Shield. Call today, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm here in St. Louis. I've been warning our clients that IRS employees are back at work since mid-July, and their collection efforts have ramped up. Well, sure enough, it looks like it's happening. So if you have unfiled tax returns, wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, now's the time to call the Lance Drury Law Firm before the IRS calls you. Tax resolution plans are based off your current income. So if your current income is less than normal due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this is precisely the time for the Lance Drury Law Firm to help you. Your consultation is free, so don't put it off. The Lance Drury Law Firm focuses solely on tax resolution law. It's all we do. And if you have IRS problems, you have legal problems. Let us use our tax law resolution experience to guide you and work on your custom resolution plan. Call now. It's free and confidential. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to Lance, DRURY law.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, headaches? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates. Call 618-206-5935. 618-206-5935. That's 618-206-5935.
The latest local forecast and severe weather coverage you can count on from the name in St. Louis weather.
This is 97.1's Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
On 97.1 FM Talk. Powered by Air Comfort Service.
One of the worst things I've seen is with respect to the Iranian deal. It looks like he wants to revisit a new deal, new nuclear deal with Iran. Those, I think, are huge mistakes. I mean, the question here is, look, first, will Biden reverse Trump policies just because it's an obsession? Will he essentially cut off his nose to spite Trump? Or is he really going to listen to a broader, more diverse group of folks who will make this economy really hum?
That's Larry Kudlow talking there. And, Larry Kudlow says he's a Fox News contributor now, so he's there quite a bit. But Larry Kudlow says something there that I don't think people are attaching really to this specific stimulus bill circumstance as much as they possibly can. Do they believe that these policies that the Biden administration is putting into place through a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill that's supposed to, it's a COVID relief bill, folks. So you'd think it would be relieving us from the perils of COVID. Is it what's best for the people in the country? Is it supposed to make the burden and the pain and the strife that we've experienced because of COVID? Is it supposed to lessen that for us, soften the blow a little bit? And how much of it is driven by the fact that the economic question is, well, what was Trump doing? We should do the other thing. Kudlow says that there. I think so, that kind of seems obvious. It kind of seems like that's the only conversation we ever have is, well, what did Trump do? And then everybody decides which corner they just immediately go to. But it's important for him to bring that up, especially when you look at this COVID bill, this $1.9 trillion COVID bill, where less than 10% of it is actually going to aid the need of people like you in a public health situation. You can also look back on the last stimulus bill or the last stimulus bills that have been signed, and there's money left over in those bills that hasn't been appropriated or hasn't been spent yet. It's been appropriated, it hasn't been spent yet. But yet we're going to we're going to budget line an item for the same type of thing in this next one. Certainly think about the amount of schools that have gotten money from the American taxpayer. Remember, the government doesn't have money, but you do. The government can sign pieces of paper, they can pass bills so they can see what's in it, which allows them to take money out of your pocket. And then they decide where it goes and what it's most appropriate for. And in the midst of that, you've got schools who are getting gigantic sums of money with really no strings attached. You don't even have to be open to or like pushing forward to be open in order to receive some of this money. And a lot of that money still exists. A lot of that money is still accessible, and it hasn't from previous bills, and they still want more to go to these schools. It's very, very difficult for me to, the party of science, because they're really good at marketing it this way, is the Democrat Party. The Democrats are the ones who are always saying, but science, but science, but science. And then the Republicans don't counter argue that in a effective way. So the Democrats get to continue to own that position. But explain to me how the science backs up that public school children should not be in the classroom, while parochial school and private school kids have been in the classroom for the entirety of the year, successfully so, because Lord knows if there was some sort of breakout or some sort of, massive issue or catastrophe that took place at a school, this media would be slobbering all over it. The truth is that there is a way to implement in-person education in a way that accommodates for the health of the teachers who are involved, for the health of the students who may not be able to be in person for whatever particular need, but for the vast majority of kids whose parents and whose obviously those students want to be in the classroom. This is workable. It's actually not even that complicated. And the only thing standing in the way is the teachers' unions. And the reason why the teachers' unions have so much power is because they have so much money. They have so much influence over the politicians who are so terrified that well will dry up for them, that well of money that gets flooded into their political campaigns, the one that's going to be there in 2022 when they have to run again for the House, or if they're running for governor, like in the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. When you've got the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, saying we need to get these kids back in school, and the teachers' unions won't even budge for Lori Lightfoot, there's some power and authority behind that. But it's always about money, which is why we bring Stephen Moore onto the show right now. Very busy man. Very glad to have you squeezing us into your schedule today. Senior economic contributor for FreedomWorks, Stephen Moore. Thanks for coming on with us. Good to have you back.
Hi, Annie. Good afternoon. It's good to be with you.
Thank you. $1.9 trillion Biden administration stimulus bill. It's a COVID stimulus bill, so I assume that means that it's all going to help people recover from COVID, right? That's the whole point of all of this, I'm sure.
Well, you've got it exactly right. I mean, every penny is going to be spent judiciously and on the programs that this country really needs. I'm being facetious, of course. Right, exactly. This is the Bernie Sanders bill. This bill has nothing to do with COVID. It's basically a social welfare, liberal wish list of programs that they've wanted to spend for 30 years, and they haven't had the votes to do it. And now they're, in a very cynical way, they're actually using COVID as an excuse to pass their liberal spending agenda. Where to begin? We've got $1 trillion already in the pipeline that has not been spent. I think I mentioned that, Annie, last week on your show. Wouldn't it be prudent? Maybe I shouldn't use that word when it comes to Congress, but wouldn't it be prudent to first spend the $1 trillion you've already got, right? As my mom used to say, first eat your dinner, then you get your dessert. And so they're going, and there was a reason, by the way, there's a big hurry on. The Democrats want to pass this literally in the next 2 weeks, a $2 trillion spending bill. Nobody's even going to know what's in it, Annie. And why are they in a big hurry? Because they know that the virus is going away, that we've got a vaccine that's combating it. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. By April, we should have, this virus hopefully well under control. We also have an economy that's mending very well on its own. Just look at the statistics. It's doing a lot better. And so we don't need this money. They want to get it all appropriated before people realize, hey, we don't need a $1.9 trillion, because once it's appropriated, it flies out the door.
regardless of what you or I or Annie say, Stephen Moore, it sounds like we're going to have a huge government spending boom coming up.
Oh, you better believe it.
Beyond the initial boom, though, there's you said a liberal wish list. One of those items is the $15 minimum wage. Now we're wading into a little bit of legal territory here. Do you think that actually can be a part of this bill? Because I know there's a lot of questions about the legality of that.
Well, first of all, let me address what you just said a second ago, which is, that the Washington's going to spend all of this money. This is, how Donald Trump came in, and one of his greatest pledges, and one of the things he really tried to do, and we tried to do as part of that administration, was drain the swamp, right? To take power away from Washington and, keep the money in the pockets of the people on Main Street all over the country rather than sending all your money to Washington. Well, this does just the opposite, right? This doesn't drain the swamp. It refills the swamp. And Washington is going to get very, very, very rich off of this. I don't know about the rest of us, but D.C. is going to flourish. And that's one of the things I hate most about this bill. But your point about minimum wage, I think there's a high likelihood minimum wage will be taken out of this bill, which is a good thing. By the way, I was just before I came on your show, I was just quickly flipping through the Wall Street Journal. I hadn't had it. It's been a busy day and I wasn't able to read it this morning. And there's a big, huge full page ad by Amazon saying, yes, raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, you may think that they are doing this because they're just good corporate citizens and so on. They care about America. And maybe that's their motive. But, Amazon already pays wages that are, pretty high. What they're trying to do here, in I think a very cynical way, is force their smaller competition, which can't afford $15 an hour minimum wage because they don't have a CEO that's worth $1 trillion. And it's going to hurt the small businesses, right? And so Amazon is going to come out ahead of this if we do it. So, I wonder, I'm a little suspicious of, whether they're being a good corporate citizen here or they're trying to squash the small businesses in America that might dare compete with big Amazon.
I appreciate your cynicism on that. That sounds just about right to me. Before you came on here, I played a clip from Larry Kudlow on Fox, and he was talking about President Biden's policies. And in his words, he says, will Biden reverse Trump policies because of an obsession to spite Trump? It does raise my curiosity and cynicism to look at so many of these policies, what President Trump's administration implemented that was so successful that you had a very large part in, especially going into the 2016 election. We all know Trump derangement syndrome is real. Is a lot of this just to get back at Donald Trump, or is that too simple?
It's not too simple. I mean, I think there is a strategy, a plot by the Democrats to just undo everything Trump did, to erase him, because they're into erasing, right? They try to erase everything they can, and they're trying to erase Donald Trump. And look, I don't agree with everything Donald Trump did. I agree with a lot of it, and I think it was spectacularly successful when it came to the economy. But I'll tell you this, having been in a lot of meetings with Donald Trump, I guarantee you every decision he made, and some, as I said, some of them I didn't agree with, they were always oriented towards one thing. And you know what that was, Annie? It was putting America first. And there's a big article in the New York Times today about how the left is going to, and Biden is going to overrule all of Trump's foreign policy stuff, and we're going to re-enter all of these crazy treaties, and we're going to pay the world's bills again. Our rich Uncle Sam, they're going to pay, and they're talking about, Europe loves Biden. Well, why wouldn't they? He's writing the checks for them. Sure. He's putting Europe first. I mean, obviously, if you got a rich uncle who comes over and gives you money all the time, you're going to like that guy. But we can't afford that, folks. We have to put American workers first, not Germany and France and Italy and Spain and China and Russia. And that's exactly what Biden's doing. And of course, the foreign press loves him. I mean, they adore Biden. They didn't like Trump too much because he put America first.
Yeah, and it strikes me from the reports that we got a lot of times, specifically with Jim Carafano at Heritage Foundation, who you're probably familiar with. But, regardless of whether the folks overseas loved or hated Donald Trump, they did respect him in a way that they hadn't respected previous administrations. That's what we should be about.
I could not agree with you more. And that goes back to the Reagan doctrine. Reagan used to say that. I want them to love me, but what more, I want them to respect us, and I want our enemies to fear us, right? Reagan used to say weakness is provocative, and he was right about that. And, we want the rest of the world to respect us. And what really worries me is that when the United States gets it wrong, as we're getting it wrong now with Biden, with $2 trillion of spending bill, and we're going to dismantle our energy policies, and we're going to spend billions and billions of dollars on foreign aid, the rest of the world follows our lead. When we get it right, the rest of the world gets it right. And tragically, when we get it wrong, the rest of the world, gets it wrong too. And Biden keeps talking about, we need more government spending. We need bigger government control of the economy. And that's exactly what these other countries are going to do. And in countries like Africa and South America, that's going to cause major, major problems with their economies. Freedom is what works. Free enterprise is what works. Private businesses that can create the jobs. We got a president who thinks that jobs come from government.
Well, his jobs do come from government.
Exactly. That's why he's never had a job, right?
Yeah. I can
I
understand
think
why.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
But that's a serious point, Annie. That's a great observation. I mean, the problem is, why would anyone think that someone who spent 40 years in government would have any idea how to create jobs, right? One of the things I loved about Donald Trump was he was a businessman. That's why he got elected. It's like people were sick of politicians. And the one thing that Donald Trump proved is he sure knew how to create jobs and higher wages for American workers, because we got it under Donald J. Trump.
Stephen Moore, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. There's always going to be a lot to talk about for the next 4 years. So we continue to welcome you back on the show anytime you're free. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Annie. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye-bye. Senior economic contributor at FreedomWorks. You know how, Ryan, are you familiar with the movie Mean Girls?
Yeah, definitely.
You've seen, okay. Well, it's the greatest documentary that's ever been created, first of all. But there's a part in Mean Girls, and if you haven't seen Mean Girls, I'll make this brief. If you have, you're going to know exactly what I'm saying. But Regina George is the capital M, capital G Mean Girl. And there's a part where they're trying to get to her. And so she's wearing a tank top, a white tank top. You can't call those wife beaters anymore, can you?
I still do.
No, it's okay. It's like, screw the PC stuff. But they clip her shirt out like where her bra would be. There's just like 2 holes there, and she puts it on and she looks down and she's kind of like, okay. And then the next scene is everybody in the school wearing this ridiculous shirt. When I don't know why, and I didn't decide to go there with Stephen Moore on this issue. I thought it might require just a wee bit too much explanation. But when I hear him say that when the United States of America does the hard thing, but the right thing, and the world follows, it's the same as when we do the wrong thing and the world follows. And my mind immediately goes to Regina George wearing the boob hole shirt, and everybody being like, that's like a great idea. Let's do that. So I don't know if Joe Biden really gets to qualify as Regina George. That's not an analogy that I can really, in my mind, connect the two ropes and tie them together. But the shirt is the same. Exactly right. Wear a whole shirt, people. That's the moral of the story. Stephen Moore said so. Not really, but kind of. We'll be right back with John Anthony, who's a host of Black and Right on The Answer in Chicago. He's a former police officer. He is a Black conservative. And he's going to come on to talk to us about what Governor Pritzker just signed. Yes, that criminal reform bill signed this afternoon by Pritzker. We're going to get John Anthony's reaction when we come back. Don't go away.
Transgression still in my heart somewhere.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
For you and me tonight.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Get in your comfort zone with 0% financing for 72 months and utility rebates on qualifying equipment when you purchase and install a new HVAC system. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com. Working with the professionals at Lakeside Renovation and Design it's a decision that you can absolutely have confidence in. Interiors and exteriors, they do both of them. So if you've got a big home project in the future and you need to put it in the hands of capable experts who know what they're doing, who are going to do the project right the first time, and who are going to ensure that project with a lifetime workmanship warranty that goes on top of the manufacturer's warranty, they are absolutely confident in their ability to deliver results every time. That's why the majority of their business is from word of mouth, referrals, and people who had their siding, their James Hardie siding or Infinity windows installed on the outside of their homes. And they were just so pleased, not just with the final product, the way it looks, but with the experience of working with the good people at Lakeside Renovation and Design. You can trust them. And that means everything. When you reach out to
to them, mention the Annie Fry Show when you call, and say, you're interested in what they can do for you. If it's your interior master bath, if it's your kitchen that you want to renovate, if you want to finish your basement, they're there for each and every one of those projects, and they have great financing options as well. 636-978-5000, 636-978-5000, online at lakesidерenovationanddesign.com.
As we all try and get back to normal after the devastating winter storm, Diamonds Direct is warming things up with some good news. We're extending our special finance offer one more week. Now through Saturday, you can get 5 years zero-interest financing on anything and everything. That means you can get a $10,000 engagement ring and pay just $167 a month. In the wake of the unprecedented winter storm, we realize your life was put on hold, so we're giving you this additional time to pick up where you left off. You can use this extended opportunity to get that post-Valentine's gift, prepare for your spring proposal, or just use it as an excuse to splurge for any upcoming occasion. Everything's included at any price point. Engagement rings, fashion rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, pendants, colored gemstone jewelry, and exquisite designer jewelry. At Diamonds Direct, we believe it's more important than ever to show your special someone how much you love them. So now through this Saturday, you can pick any item at Diamonds Direct, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. Diamonds Direct.
Olive and 270 at City Place.
My friends, how many of you out there right now believe you have a plan? I followed the conventional plan for years, and then the conventional plan blew up in my face. I wonder how many of you can relate to that exact same thing. The real question is, how many of you have actually figured out how to turn that thing around and make it happen?
Do you have a plan? Lifestyles Unlimited has one for you. It's worked for countless others. Retire in 5 years or less. Come learn more. Join us for our live online workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you have heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple on the station as the financial expert for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend on 97.1 FM Talk, and in case you miss any of those shows, on his podcast on radio.com. That's radio.com, and search Safe Money 97.1. So call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
The Dave Glover Show.
Wendigo used the outhouse. She looked down, claimed to have seen a, quote, gigantic bear face staring back at them.
What kind of freak bear is this?
Weekdays at 3 on 97.1 FM Talk.
The faster we're falling, we're stopping and stalling, we're running in circles again. Just as things were looking up, you said it wasn't good enough, but still we're trying one more time. Maybe we're just trying too hard, when really it's closer than it is too far. 'Cause I'm in too deep and I'm trying.
Every story that comes up about what Illinois is doing now feels like we're in a little too deep. And it's just this perpetual cycle. Once you think you've gone to the point where you're like, yeah, this is enough. I think that this is as far as we can go. They figure out a new way to push it. We've been talking about HB 3653, which is that criminal justice and police reform bill. I was flooded with police officers here in Southern Illinois who were very concerned about the direction this was going, the way that this bill was formulated, how it came to be, and what it does to continue to protect our people who are serving in this capacity of law enforcement. And I'm very excited to welcome a new guest onto the show, John Anthony. He is host of Black and Right on The Answer in Chicago, and he's also a former police officer. He has served in the Illinois House of Representatives, as I understand it, as well. And he's on the show with us right now. John, a real pleasure to have you here on the Annie Fry Show.
Hey, Annie, thanks so much for allowing me on. It might be my first time on, but not my first time listening.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I know that I've had Dan Proft on the show before and other people, Steve Cortez as well from The Answer. And I really appreciate that Northeastern conservative viewpoint on things that affect us down here in Southern Illinois just the same. So it's a real pleasure to have you here. I need to have your experience as somebody who is a Black Republican, former police officer. I'm sure law enforcement is near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
Outspoken on these issues.
Oh, yes.
What are the police officers and their families going to endure now due to Governor Pritzker's signing of this new bill?
I fear, but I hope that I'm wrong. I fear that you're seeing the beginnings of the end of the policing profession, not just here in Illinois, but I mean throughout America. Because remember, it all starts in either Illinois, New York, or California. That's where a lot of these real regressive bills start at, and they all piggyback off each other to see who's going to do what. But I went through all of the policing Facebook and social media groups that I'm a part of, and all you see is people. I mean, they are completely dejected right now. They feel like they are just the bane of America's existence right now, and they don't have a voice out there speaking and pushing back against the foolishness that we see. And I think what happens in Chicago, because at least when I was in the legislative body, we always created bills in criminal justice or policing reform that dealt with the woes of Chicago. The woes of Chicago affects the rest of the state and the rest of the country in some regards, and that's just not fair.
Yeah, we're speaking with John Anthony, a host of Black and White on The Answer in Chicago, former police officer as well. As somebody who served in law enforcement, as I said, I had so many people reach out to me because this all happened real fast in the public, the way it came to be. There's a lot of panic behind it. What are the actual issues involved in this bill that really would concern you?
Oh my God. I mean, given the AG powers that the state AG didn't have to deal with police misconduct, because that's normally a Department of Justice issue. They want to, if you're an individual and you have an incident with the police, right? And right now, if there's no underlying arrest or offense, cops can no longer arrest people for resisting or obstructing a peace officer. Here's another one. Let's say there's a crime, there's a murder that's being committed. If a person walks across the red line, right now, with the passage of this bill, they can go. Now, imagine this. Maybe the person who killed that person can now walk and put his evidence all back into the scene. I mean, this bill was just ludicrous. And the bad thing about it, it was passed during lame duck session, not the normal process of the legislative process. Normally, a bill like this takes time. I get it. They said they started in July. A bill like this normally goes through the normal process of the legislative process. This did not. So unaccountable people who were leaving their offices, as far as elected officials, voted to pass this out. That's a travesty, no matter what city or what state you live in.
Former police officer John Anthony, host of Black and White on The Answer, is on the phone with us. John, you mentioned that the goal of this really is ultimately, even nationwide, these kinds of laws is to undermine police officers and kind of demoralize, take apart police precincts in general, and just create lawlessness is what the end goal of that would be. Do you think that the politicians passing these things know that, and that they really are for that, or are they blind to the outcomes of the things that they're passing?
Well, I think you got to understand the constituency that most of these elected officials, especially here in Chicago, because this bill was derived and created from the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus. So that means they're in communities where, the alleged of police misconduct, the alleged police brutality. So I do believe, because when you look at the list of people who were part of this Change Illinois, ACLU, Chicago Community Bond Fund, Community Renewal Society, Chicago Appleseed Fund for Justice, when you look at the groups that were part of making this bill happen, I mean, it speaks to, if these elected officials don't pass this bill, they'll look for others who will. And I think that's a lot of the pushback, because most of the people, especially the Black Caucus members, have never had a primary opponent. So they're more afraid of that primary opponent from the left of them. And so they have to push through and vote for these things. Because think about this. You really think, I think this bill, it had good intentions, but I think it's going to hurt the very community that they're trying to protect, the Black and brown communities. Because guess what? The police didn't shoot 4,000 people in Chicago. The police didn't shoot and kill 700 people in Chicago. The people within their own communities did. When will we hold them accountable for their actions? Because this reform bill will be for naught. It will mean nothing if we don't begin to hold the community members, just as responsible for the crime that occurs in their communities.
John Anthony is a former police officer, but also as a former Republican in the Illinois General Assembly. I got to ask you, we cover Southern Illinois down here. You're in Chicago, and you have a strong voice in Chicago, strong representation there. I hear you saying, what are we going to do to back up these people and give these communities what they want? The Republican Party in the state of Illinois has a lot of solutions. The policies that we should be implementing would solve a lot of these problems, but I sometimes it's like we can't find our butt with our own hands in this party across the entire state, and it's like, where do we go from here? How do we take the good ideas that we have, get past our differences, and do something meaningful?
Well, I believe we have to elect leaders who have a spine and a backbone, who don't care about the PC, who doesn't care about losing an election, and just go out and actually make decisions. Listen, I'm Black. I'm originally from Chicago. I live in Joliet. I took a lot of heat from a lot of decisions and a lot of the things that I voted against that the Black Caucus wanted to do. But the Republican Party needs a spine. Just get along mentality that we've had in Illinois for decades. I saw it with my own eyes. Until we elect leaders and we bring parity back between the balance of power in the legislative bodies, nothing will change. But we need people to stop saying, I'm not voting. We need people to begin to get engaged. And police officers, most of them don't get engaged in politics because they're frustrated with politics. But this is what happens when you give up your voice. When you give up your vote, you give up your voice. And that has to stop. That has to stop. And I'm a huge Donald Trump fan. He taught us how to fight. He laid the playbook. He gave us the guidelines to push back and to not take these liberals and these regressives and allow them to manipulate the vocabulary of our day for their own political control and gain.
John, will you come back on the show? It's been a pleasure having you. I'm running out of time, and I want to talk more about this policing thing, but I've got a million other things that I want to discuss with you as well.
Sure.
I think it's so important what you're saying, and I think that I know that there's a lot of great frustration here in Southern Illinois about Chicago. It's easy to blame Chicago for a lot of the woes that Illinois has, but I'm a firm believer that if we want to fix it, we're going to need Chicago. And we're going to need to hold hands and hold on tight going forward. And we'd love to have your voice back here if you're willing.
I would love to. Thank you so much. And just remember, proactive policing is dead unless we fix it.
We got to do something, and we got to do it fast. John Anthony, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon. Black and White on Chicago, the answer. Katie, you want me to go to another minute here? Or?
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, like, listening to what he's saying there, I don't, especially here, I'm just going to put this out there for y'all to understand and know. If I'm going to talk to a Republican from Chicago, I'm not bringing up Donald Trump, because if we have Republican similarities, we need to build on the things that are similar. This is kind of going back to what I was talking about before. The things that unite us, let's build on that. But when you hear people like John Anthony, who is a Black man from Chicago serving in the Illinois General Assembly as a Republican, how do we not build upon broadening who we are, who we represent, and getting our voice out there? And then he goes and brings up Trump and he says, he taught us how to fight. And I'm like, I'm so glad you said that. I didn't have to ask you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to speak with Lora Ries with Heritage about the new laws or procedures for ICE and why it makes us a sanctuary country when we come back.
Due to the weather, Edwards Carpet is extending our sale to February 28th. Low sale prices, 0% financing, and you'll pay no tax. Edwards Carpet for all your flooring needs. Visit us at edwardscarpet.com.
Come on down to Edwards Carpet Stores.
Shane Company has grown to become St. Louis's favorite family jeweler. With our direct sourcing around the world, you'll get the best value on the most beautiful fine jewelry. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business, Shane Company and shaneco.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Sean Rimmerman, your host of We're Having a Senior Moment every Saturday at 7 a.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. I also have this company, We're Comfort Care Home Care St. Louis, and we help people live their best lives possible. If you're struggling caring for a senior, if you're a senior who needs some care, give us a call at 314-965-9600 anytime, day or night. Again, 314-965-9600.
KFTK FM Florissant, K254CR St. Louis, driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, 97.1 FM Talk, a radio.com station.
A staggering milestone. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The U.S. about to hit 500,000 deaths from COVID-19 in the Johns Hopkins count as President Biden urges Congress again to pass nearly $2 trillion more in COVID relief.
Now, critics say the plan is too big. Let me ask them a rhetorical question. What would you have me cut? What would you leave out?
Republicans say the bill has priorities not directly related to COVID and that of the trillions already approved, billions have yet to be spent. Democrats say much more is needed for priorities like reopening schools. A new study finds teachers may play a crucial role in virus spread in school settings.
Local and state health officials teamed up with the CDC to examine the spread of COVID at 8 elementary schools in Georgia. In-person learning was happening in those schools with what they cited as inadequate mask usage and poor social distancing. They found 9 COVID clusters at 6 of the schools, and the CDC study conducted in December and January concluded that educators were central to transmission of the virus. In 4 clusters, an educator was the first patient identified with COVID. The CDC does not say vaccines are recommended in order to reopen schools, but they do advise states to get teachers and staff vaccinated as supply allows.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. The State Department and the White House are reiterating the U.S. willingness to talk with Iran about returning to the 2015 nuclear deal.
What we're willing to do is sit at a table and have a diplomatic conversation because we are looking to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, and we believe diplomacy is the best way to do that.
White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki. Iran's supreme leader denies seeking a nuclear weapon, but also says Iran will never yield to U.S. pressure over its nuclear work. State TV reporting earlier today that he also threatened a higher enrichment of uranium. America is listening to Fox News.
So much is happening, but who can you trust? You need to check out Newsmax TV, the fastest growing news channel in America. Watch it on all major cable systems and see shows with Sean Spicer, Greg Kelly, Lindsey Keith, Stinchfield, and Rob Schmidt. They're giving you the real story on Biden and Pelosi. So download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone now or watch Newsmax on Roku, YouTube, Pluto, Zumo, and more. 30 million Americans watch Newsmax TV. So should you.
Bria's Fashion Boutique is the worst. First, they asked me if I needed help finding anything. Just because I'm gorgeous doesn't mean I need help.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Then they tell me they're having a sale. Oh, so you're assuming I'm poor. Cool.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Also, they tried to give me the friends and family discount. I'm not your friend, so.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Air Comfort Service heating and cooling weather with Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
We can hear the snow melting away this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies, a little bit of a breeze, 50 to 55 for the high today. Tonight, clear skies, 35. On Tuesday, sunny, even warmer, 59, 60 will do it for the high temperature. Wednesday, partly sunny and 50, with nighttime lows staying above freezing. Boy, the snow is going to disappear very quickly. This is 97.1 FM Talk Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage. Need to know what it takes for a home loan to fit your budget and your family? Rocket can. When you need an expert to help navigate the home loan process, Rocket can.
Mark Cox here. I'm inviting you to join Thomas Helbig for the Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, March 2nd at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. There is limited seating, so call now, 855-755-1555. Here's Thomas with more.
Are you feeling uncertain about the economy with all the spending and job losses under this new administration? Did you know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can now roll over your 401k or company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? Do you know how to protect your savings accounts from risk and still get higher returns than the banks are offering? If you're 59 and a half or older, you don't want to miss this special event. We have the biggest room available to keep our social distancing.
Protect your retirement nest egg. Join the official financial advisor of my show, Thomas Helbig, at the Protecting Your Retirement educational event Tuesday, March 2nd at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Call 855-755-1555 or go online at retirementkey.com.
Say thank you to your home for being there for you. Start with a free estimate from your neighborhood CertaPro painters. We really understand how you feel about your home. That's why you can count on us to take care of every detail. Listening, prepping, painting. It's always worry-free with our expert painting team. Whatever project you have in mind, count on CertaPro painters doing the job beautifully. Schedule your free estimate now at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
The only person who can change your life is you, but you need to know how. Listen to my show, The Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins.
Listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show this Saturday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk.
It might sound complicated to think about your estate plan when you are going through the decisions of what you want to have done, where you want things to go, how you want things to be allocated. That's something that is complicated to open up that conversation. But Rudy Beck, Jay Lennox, and Carolyn Diker at Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law, this is their profession. They are experts at this. If you are looking for the correct lawyers to take care of this for you, to make sure it's done absolutely right, to make sure that you have maximized all of the experience and the circumstances that you have to make sure that you have the plan that best suits you. They've been doing this for decades. They know the law, and they will make sure that you get the maximum benefit of it when you go to Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law. For folks who have not had any estate planning done, or if you haven't had yours reviewed in 3 years or more, that's a long time when it comes to estate planning. Things can change. Your circumstances can certainly change. You could reach out to Beck and Lennox Estate Planning and Elder Law right now for a free consultation. Call them at 636-946-7899. That's 636-946-7899. And book a free consultation today. You can also go onto their website, click that book a call button for a free consultation as well. BeckElderLaw.com.
Tune in to Right at Home with Rich every Saturday from noon to 1 p.m. This Mosby Building Arts Home Show covers topics ranging from design and architecture to remodeling and home maintenance. For answers to all of your home questions, don't miss Right at Home with Rich, brought to you by Mosby Building Arts.
Hey guys, Glover here for a brand new sponsor of the show, Legacy Box. If you listen to the show, you know how into my family history I am, and pictures of my great grandparents and videos from when my mom and dad shot reel to reel with my brother and sister going to Florida in the 50s. All of this stuff is deteriorating. You can send it off to Legacy Box. It's super, super simple. I'm in the process of doing it right now. You just put it all into the Legacy Box. You send it off. They digitize it. You can have it stored on the cloud, a thumb drive, a DVD, along with all of your original media that you sent. Of course, you get that back. It's completely safe. It's very affordable, and you're going to be so glad that you did it. So will your kids. So will your grandkids. Go to legacybox.com/Glover right now to take advantage of a 50% offer. This exclusive offer won't last long, so order the kit now and send it in whenever you're ready. That's legacybox.com/Glover for 50% off.
Facts presented fairly. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Stream the station anytime at 971talk.com or download the app for your phone at radio.com. The Annie Fry Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Well, we continue to monitor a lot of these policies and positions that the Biden administration is unraveling. We have been in a Biden presidency for about a month now, and we continue to be touching on a lot of different places. It's almost hard to keep up at times. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Annie Fry Show. A reminder that we're streaming live all the time, the whole station, 97.1 FM Talk, at an app you can download on your phone. You can go online, radio.com. and stream the station. Just find 97.1 FM Talk and click the little heart. You'll favorite us, and then you can take us with you anywhere you go, all throughout the country. One of the things that is very important that I don't see getting a lot of attention with the stimulus package being discussed and with the power outages taking place in Texas across the southern part of our country is a lot of the ICE regulations that the Biden administration is putting into place, along with some of the new immigration policies that we've discussed a bit on this show. Lora Ries joins us now. She is Heritage Foundation's Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security and former acting DHS Deputy Chief of Staff. Lora, it is a real pleasure to have you on the show today to lend your expertise to some of these policies that this Biden administration has changed drastically according to ICE guidance, which I'm reading here. I'll use the quotes, turns America into a sanctuary country. That's got to rub people the wrong way, I'm sure, across the country. Love to get your reaction to that.
Yes, well, thanks, Annie, for having me on. And the former director of ICE, Tom Homan, coined that phrase, sanctuary country, and he is spot on. We have long talked about at Heritage the dangers of sanctuary cities and localities where criminal aliens are not turned over to ICE, but rather released back onto the street by these very leftist city leaders, only to commit crimes again, harming Americans, harming other migrants in their own communities when they shouldn't be here in the first place. And so this ICE memo that was signed last week greatly narrows, even from how limited the Obama administration enforced the law. This new memo greatly limits who would be removed to basically terrorists, spies, and convicted aggravated felons.
Lora, I would think that this issue kind of snowballs on itself because not just the current crimes and current issues that would be happening, but that it also encourages people in the future to maybe break those laws because they know there's no consequences.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've seen it so much this past year, whether we're talking about riots in different cities, but also illegal immigration. If consequences aren't applied, if the law isn't enforced, then it continues. It sends the message, hey, do whatever you want. You're not going to be punished for it. And, we're going to look the other way.
So let me ask you this, Lora, when we're considering what the new guidance is for ICE, are the laws changing, or is it just the way ICE is supposed to interact using those laws for particular people?
Yeah, the law is not changing, and there is quite a robust set of laws that Congress passed in statute, which says who is not allowed into the country and then who is removable once inside the country, including several laws, whether it's drug-related laws or weapons or domestic abuse, etc. And so what this memo does is it says, due to limited circumstances, and that is the excuse the left loves to use and run with, but they're using it to shut down enforcement of most crimes. I mean, not included in this memo would be felonies where a person hadn't been convicted, or drunk driving, or domestic abuse. I mean, many crimes will not be acted upon, and so those people will either be released back onto the street, but certainly not deported.
Lora Ries is Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security and former acting DHS Deputy Chief of Staff. Lora, is this a first for modern American history? I mean, is this a kind of a policy agenda that we've seen before in America and we know how it plays out? Or is this uncharted territory?
I'd say it's uncharted territory. Now, under Obama administration, they put out a priorities memo for ICE as well. And they restricted the number of crimes that were to be enforced. But even it under Obama was broader than what was just put out last week under the Biden administration. I mean, law enforcement is saying that ICE targets now are decreased or cut by 90%. And ICE agents are largely without a job to do. They've pretty much taken away their job. And so for those leaders like Representative Ocasio-Cortez and others who have called to abolish ICE, this memo in effect does just that.
So, Lora, when you're assessing what has taken place here, as you said, who you said it was it Holland or that called it America's as a sanctuary country? Is there an honest, like, can we take ourselves out of our side of this issue right now and put ourselves in the shoes of the Biden administration, the people who have collaborated to put this together, and see it from their perspective? Is there anything other than virtue signaling and political hate to be made for the Democrats, where they advocate for this being what's best for Americans and the people who are associated with this, both on the ICE side of the equation and the people who they would be apprehending? Is there a good faith argument from the other side that we can be looking at right now that defends this, or is it just political hate?
I don't think there's a good faith argument. I mean, if you kind of pull back and look at the entire population of illegal immigrants, whether it's someone who crossed the border illegally but then did not commit additional violations of the law, or someone who's working without authorization or overstayed a visa, okay, let's put that at one end of the spectrum in the illegal alien population. Add to it instances of fraud, buying documents, all the way up to committing serious crimes, terrorism, and espionage. They are taking that one end of the spectrum only and saying we're only going to enforce the law against a subset of just that: spies, terrorists, and convicted aggravated felons. So it is the worst of the worst, but like I said before, there are a whole host of criminal aliens who are not going to be touched. And who can argue that that's a good thing for America, or that makes communities more safe? If we're putting more drunk drivers onto the streets, or child abusers or domestic abusers, who could possibly argue in good faith that that is a good thing for America?
Laura, I'm sure that you've looked at the data, being the senior research fellow for Homeland Security at Heritage, on these types of things. You mentioned the Obama administration having a similar, although not exactly the same, policy as Joe Biden is putting into place right now with ICE. Do we see that? Do we see that in the data play out, that you see more, like you said, drunk driving accidents or domestic abuse or just crime in general from these populations when there's no enforcement of the laws? Or is that something that we assume is happening, but it's hard to track because we're talking about immigration and things that are not necessarily data driven?
Well, there's been plenty of media stories on sanctuary cities and localities and the very negative, dire consequences from that when repeat criminals become recidivists, and gang activity, child molestation, etc. Unfortunately, there are too many cases where those criminal aliens repeat their crimes, and then other Americans or other migrants are hurt or killed. Again, in each of these cases, they should not be happening. Those people should not be harmed because the perpetrators shouldn't have been here in the first place.
Well, Lora Ries, it's a pleasure to have you on the show here, because this is definitely something that's important to be discussing in the midst of a lot of other big issues that are maybe getting the top headlines. These are the type of things that, they cause results down the line, and then everybody goes, hey, how did this happen? When did this happen? And I'm glad that we were able to discuss it here with you today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll do it again soon. Lora Ries, the Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security and former acting DHS Deputy Chief of Staff. Now, I don't like the idea of having a sanctuary country, but it's weird to me how much these conversations that we're having right now it's very, very deja vu-y to what we were discussing during the Obama administration. The conversations were very similar. And, let's be real here. Whether you love Donald Trump or not, these are the type of conversations, the issues, the drastic changes that were made by the Obama administration that really did end up producing a Donald Trump. So the end result there certainly being these types of actions do have consequences. We do need to be discussing them and bringing them to the spotlight and shining a light on them so that we know what's going on out there. And then people can vote accordingly, because that's what we do in this country. Little quick break. We're going to come back and I'm going to ask, did you guys see that airplane? Did you see that engine?
Yes.
We're going to talk about that when we come back. So I want to know, if you look out the window and you're on a flight to friggin' Hawaii and the engine is falling apart and on fire, what kind of concessions are you making in your soul at that moment? We'll talk about that when we come back. Don't go away.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Talk lines are open now at 314-241-9797 or 866-455-9797.
Keeping employees positive and motivated can be quite the task for any manager. Now throw in layoffs of coworkers, extra work, same pay, and not enough hours in the day. The Missouri Department of Labor's Shared Work Program can help both you and your employees. Go to sharedwork.mo.gov.
At Ameren, Illinois, safety comes first. So before you start that landscaping project or install that new fence, call 811 to have underground gas lines and other utilities clearly marked. Because no outdoor project is worth getting hurt over. We're here to help get the job done safely so you can get back to enjoying your great outdoors. Ameren, Illinois. Energy at work.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Learn more in our 2021 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Last year, our average client saved almost $350 a month with an easy rate reduction refinance. What would you do with an extra $300 to $400 a month? When mortgage interest rates are in the twos, you have options. Let's see how much money we can save you. The 5-minute loan approval, only available at thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Have you always dreamed of a lush green lawn? Get that beautiful curb appeal without the hassle by calling Professional Irrigation Systems. They'll install your new automatic lawn sprinkler system and give you a variety of options and warranties. Don't spend half your day lugging a hose around watering your lawn. Let Professional Irrigation Systems do the work for you. They offer spring activations, backflow testing, mid-season tune-ups, and winterization. Call the pros that have been in business for 20 years. Professional Irrigation Systems. Online at proirrigation.com.
Most serious diseases have no one to blame, but not mesothelioma. Mesothelioma has just one cause: exposure to asbestos. If a mesothelioma diagnosis has hit your family, you may be entitled to compensation that will protect your future, even if the employer or product manufacturer is long gone. But you'll need a lawyer that knows how to get this done, like Cooney & Conway. The law firm of Cooney & Conway has 50 years of success restoring dignity and financial security for the families of mesothelioma victims, steelworkers, electricians, pipe fitters, mechanics, and many others, including the wives of some of these workers exposed to asbestos from their husbands' work clothes. If the diagnosis is mesothelioma, don't wait to call Cooney & Conway. Go to CooneyConway.com or call for a free consultation. CooneyConway.com. CooneyConway.com or call 800-322-5573. 800-322-5573.
Finally, you can buy a pre-owned vehicle worry-free with peace of mind. Motor Trend certified vehicles powered by Bomarito. It's a comprehensive nationwide warranty that covers engine, powertrain, brakes and electrical, AC, suspension, electronics, and more on cars up to 100,000 miles at no extra charge. The best backed pre-owned vehicles in America are Motor Trend certified vehicles powered by Bomarito. Now at every Bomarito location or 24/7 at Bomarito.com.
A reading from the Golden Oak Lending Book of Mortgage Lingo.
What is a cash out refi? It's using the equity in your home to pay off high interest credit cards. Paid it off! Yes! I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak Lending. With mortgage rates at a record low 1.875%, you can save hundreds each month and skip your next 2 payments. You'll pay nothing out of pocket, and we never charge for a home appraisal if we can't close your loan. And remember, our local lending experts speak mortgage and love translating for our customers. Eliminating debt means putting your dreams back on the table today.
Updated bathroom?
Updated bathroom and a pool table?
Don't push it, Rick.
Get started with our fast and easy zipline tool at goldenoaklending.com.
NMLS 114937, 1.875% fixed, 2.913% APR. FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit. 111 Westport Plaza, St. Louis, Missouri.
More people are landing on 97.1 FM Talk every day. It's St. Louis's radio destination for information with perspective. 97.1 FM Talk, the place for ideas.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna
United Airlines flight to Hawaii on Saturday. The terrifying moments when a jet engine exploded after they took off from Denver. Debris from the Boeing 777's engine rained down on homes, streets, and a soccer field in a Denver suburb. No one was hurt. The plane was able to safely land with no injuries reported on board.
Thank God. I was just going to say, if you take your horse to the Old Town Road, you can't die in a plane crash.
That old saying.
That's, yeah. Who sings Old Town Road? Nas X?
Lil Nas X. Mm-hmm.
Man, we sound
a little needle.
Those videos of that engine on fire makes me reconsider ever flying again. I'm going to as soon as I possibly can. But it's like, if you're a person who is like me, I'm sorry if you are, but I consider all possibilities of things that could go wrong in any situation, like going to the grocery store. It's just, it helps me in this position that I'm in right now to be an overanalyzer, to be somebody who tries to do the mental gymnastics of approaching any situation from all possible sides. I think it makes me a more well-rounded thinker, but I don't need to know that that's possible. I need that to be a figment of my imagination where it's like, that doesn't happen. I mean, even if you think to the Twilight Zone, you check in the wing when you get in the plane. You're like, okay, anybody out there? Okay, no, all right then. And I mean, you don't want to know that these things are possible. And the fact that that happened and they landed the plane, and if you hear the pilot's call, he's calling Mayday in a very casual way. If I ever have to call Mayday, it ain't going to sound like that.
No.
And it's going to have a beep or two in it when they replay it on the news later.
Oh, my God.
You'd hear Annie Fry through the steel door on the intercom.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for the people. It's just, I mean, what do you do if you look out the window and you see that?
Straight up panic. I mean, watching that whole entire thing, watching that video, I would not be able to film that. I would be out of my seat. I know you're not supposed to yell fire. I would be out of my seat, screaming at the top of my lungs to get a flight attendant.
You're not supposed to be yelling fire when there's no fire.
You're just not supposed to cause a panic. Like, I understand you're not supposed to be causing a panic.
When you're in a confined space, tens of thousands of feet in the air, and the engine's on fire, if you yell fire and they attend to your misdeed of yelling fire instead of the engine that is on fire, then we've got other issues. Which in today, 2021, probably like that was a very inappropriate thing of you to say, Katie, and we're going to need to take you to the back and talk about what you've done. Maybe that's happening. I don't know.
How would you have any control would be lost? I would be the worst person to look out the window and see something like that because I'm not thinking straight. I am panicking straight up.
It's happening. It's all on the surface.
Yes.
Ryan, how do you handle that?
I can already tell you that if we're flying to Hawaii, it's me and my wife. And my wife is already panicking from the time the plane begins to take off on the runway.
Yeah, I hear that.
Kind of like what you said. Like she thinks about all scenarios that could go wrong at all times. So she's already having anxiety. I probably am going to be 100% calm in that situation because even if the person in front of me is on fire, I'm telling her, you know what? It's okay. Everything's all right because that's what I say 100% of the time.
God bless
so you're a liar.
God
yes, I am.
That's good. That makes you and your wife, Katie, a good match. Katie Fitzpatrick has flown with me.
I have.
She knows. I mean, I'm not like irrational about it, but I'm probably kind of like your wife, Ryan, where it's just like, well, the next 2 hours of my life could go really badly. I mean, in a circumstance that normally, if it were going to go badly, it would be a lot less dramatic. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I'm surprised by you saying that. I would have thought, see, I always tell her logical things to get to talk her down.
That's what everybody who's in a panic wants to hear is as much logic as possible. Like, listen, lady, you're crazy right now.
Like
crazy.
for instance, but honey, you know that you have a statistical higher chance of dying in a car accident than you do on a plane.
Oh, totally.
So
here are the stats.
Are you afraid of every time you get in the car? But it doesn't matter.
I am now. Yeah, like your life is in way more danger. Usually you're actually safer now than you normally could be. It's just if it happened now, it would be in a plane crash. It'd be national news.
I would also be thinking about how are we going to get out of this mess? Like, how are we going to get out of this predicament? Whenever you see an engine on fire, I'm trying to like scream at the flight attendant while trying to call my parents. Look at David. Not go bald.
What's David doing?
David is probably panicking, but he's much more of the mindset. There's got to be a yin and the yang. There's got to be one person really losing their marbles and the other person like, deep breath in, deep breath out. We both cannot be panicking at the same time.
Yeah. I can tell the level of panic on my husband's face by the height of his eyebrows at any given time. And I will tell him, he's listening right now, and he just stopped what he was doing and shrugged and put his head down, I'm sure. But like if he's nervous or if he doesn't know that he does it, I'll be like, Jared, put your eyebrows down.
Put your eyebrows down.
He looks like the emoji, you know, the one that's got the O mouth and the eyebrows way up. I don't know which emoji. They have names. I don't know. That's the name of that one is Jared. When you get nervous and your eyebrows go up, and I will say to him, put your eyebrows down. And then he's like, I don't really know what to do right now.
I'm talking to two nervous ladies in the room, apparently. So I'll be kind when I ask this. But
this is where most men should have stopped. But Ryan, go ahead.
If you are in the passenger seat, if your husband's driving the car,
I'm the worst.
And looks away for a second, which, you know, you do. You look around while you're driving.
At the tree line because he thinks there are deer over there? No, I wouldn't know.
That may be exactly what I'm saying.
There are men and women listening right now who know exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if the deer are over there.
Yeah. And you're going to point it out. You're going to say, hey, look at that.
No, I'm going to
go. That's where I'm going with this.
And I'm going to grab.
Do you gasp when they look away, but you see that the car in front of you has stopped?
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna stop. He's not gonna get in an accident, but do you gasp anyway?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And my husband's driving that Dodge Challenger. So he ain't playing when we're on
the Dodge Challenger.
No, I love it. I love our car. I'm so happy. But that's a sports car. So he's looking over here and we're still going 65 and the car in front of us is, or more than 65, and the car in front of us is braking. I am like,
is it too much to ask just to watch the road though, Ryan? I mean, is it too much to say
yes, it is.
Is it too much to ask when you're driving, where I live, potentially through the country? I will try to reroute him at times, especially if it's dusk. Let's go through the most populous part of the city of Edwardsville or Madison County, wherever we are, where there still probably are deer, but it's less likely. But I mean, there's this genetic thing that is in not all men, but some men, where it's like, ooh, tree line, dusk, where are the deer? I got to count them. And I'm a big fan of counting deer, but you got to watch the road. I'm raking him over the course.
Look, I'll just say this. I'll just say this, and this will save you a lot of trouble in your marriage. There is almost
Is this from the marriage retreat?
By the way,
we had the marriage retreat this weekend. This is all we talked about.
Emoji is a shocked emoji.
Which one?
Yeah,
shocked
emoji.
Mm-hmm.
Jared.
So if you want to avoid an argument, that is the best way to do it, because there is nothing that takes me from 0 to like boiling than when my wife gasps like that, because instantly my emotion is, you didn't trust me to stop, even though every single time we've been in this situation.
So you're being a real woman about this. Let me just put it this way. You're being a real woman about this, because what you haven't understood yet, and I'm going to save you fights, is that she can't help it. And if she only gasps, then that means she's already done something to measure her reaction, which is a nascent reaction that just happens that she can't suppress. If it's not followed up with, what the heck are you doing? And like grabbing your chest and putting the brake on the side and saying you're the worst driver ever, then she's already restrained herself with great effort, that she's actually doing that for you. So the gasp is probably the best she can do. If there are words that follow, then maybe she can improve, or maybe your driving could improve. There's probably a middle ground in there somewhere.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that it's a reaction that she can't control. And she does a pretty good job of not following up to, but then the women, you got to give us.
You can't, whoa.
The women.
Don't say the women.
The women folk.
I'll just say woman. Okay, so woman. And I'm talking to my wife here. You've got to give me the same grace when I go, what the heck are you doing?
I love that Ryan went on a marriage retreat this weekend, and this is what he brings to Monday afternoon. The woman who he used as a way to refer to his wife, who he gives an allowance to.
Really, what I'm doing is I'm trying to avoid all the confusion with all the Katies on the show by just calling my wife woman. That's for you. That is for you guys.
Hey, Ryan, can we pick on you for a second?
Oh, what do you got now? What am I doing that's inappropriate?
Listen to this.
Lora Ries is Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security.
Did you call her a fella?
Did I say fellow? Fella? Lora Ries is Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security.
No, you called her a research fella.
Fella.
I messaged Katie. I go, did you just call her fella? And she waits a minute. And she's just like, yes, he sure did.
I didn't hear it at first, and then I'm
Lora
like,
Ries is Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security. It's shorthand. I was trying to say fellow. Like, if you're going to call a woman fellow, then fella's fine too, right?
In Spanish, that would be the feminized version of the word.
That's what I meant.
In English, it was just like shorthand backwoods.
Fella.
By the way, that is the longest title I think we've ever had on the show.
Yeah.
So give
that's
a little
true.
bit of grace there.
That's very true.
Hello.
It is she had a very long title, but I wanted to make sure we knew what she was up to.
Fellow for Homeland Security and former acting DHS Deputy Chief of Staff.
She was qualified to speak on the issue. So qualified, we printed her resume, and then Ryan summed it up by calling her a fella.
Hey, fella.
Hey,
thanks for joining us here in Southern Illinois.
It was really funny.
I can call her woman.
It just
Lora Ries is Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow for Homeland Security. That's fine. Next time I'll go, listen, woman.
Listen, woman.
Well, you know what? if you do it, I'm going to remove myself from that interview and let you do the rest of it. And then the chips will fall wherever they may.
And I will take it out of the podcast. And
will you? Yeah. We'll put it on the Ryan Wiggins podcast. We'll create a new one for that. Oh, man. Kelly on Facebook says the gasp is involuntary. It is. I have said to my husband before, especially if weather is involved, I have said, listen, I know I'm being, he could vouch for this right now. I know I'm being irrational. I know you're a good driver, but this makes me really nervous. So if you could just do a little bit extra for me, I would really appreciate it. And I'm trying not to be harsh to you, but I can't relax this way. And then he'll do it. But I will openly admit it's too much sometimes, but I cannot help the gasp. The gasp is a response. It just happens.
He can't help looking for deer either. That's just an instinct.
In a blizzard.
Cars are just not a good place for couples. I feel like cars are not good for couples.
Make or break your marriage. Driving a vehicle, at least in our circumstances, at dusk through the country. Fair. All right. We'll take a quick break. More Annie Fry Show when we come around here on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign up your veteran for their Honor Flight today at gsLhonorflight.org. For free HVAC estimates, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Tired of constantly caring for a home exterior that doesn't look as good as it should? You deserve beautiful, low-maintenance James Hardie fiber cement siding. James Hardie gives you gorgeous colors, stands up to Missouri's harsh weather, and lasts decades. At Lakeside Renovation and Design, we're experts in installing America's #1 siding. And our lifetime workmanship warranty gives you peace of mind. Get a lovely, lasting home exterior with Lakeside Renovation and Design. Request a free consultation at 636-978-5000. That's 636-978-5000. And love your home all over again.
My wife and I did Valentine's Day a week late this year. We had a marriage conference over the weekend, so we went to our favorite date place beforehand on Friday, which is Andrea's Steakhouse in Fairview Heights. We've gone there for years. We've known the Andrea's family our whole lives. So how do I explain taste, especially for a steak? I mean, I'm sitting there looking at a steak that is the size of a softball, a filet mignon that both I and my wife got. It includes sides and bread and everything else with it, which is unlike most steakhouses. And I thought, there's no way. I can't explain taste. There's no way for me to do that properly. So you're just going to have to try it for yourself. Go to Andrea's Steakhouse in Fairview Heights for your next date night or business meeting or whatever it is, and really impress whoever it is that you're taking there. But also, you can have that restaurant experience at home. Andrea's steak sauce is great on everything. Steaks is the #1 thing, of course, but burgers as a binder, it's amazing. Chicken, seafood, pick it up. Andrea's steak sauce at Deerberg's or Schnucks, or you can get it at the restaurant. Andrea's Steakhouse in Fairview Heights.
McKnight Place Assisted Living and Memory Care, locally owned and operated for over 30 years, features luxury accommodations and exceptional service. At McKnight Place, residents enjoy spacious apartments, walking paths through lush gardens, fine dining, engaging activities, and much more. As a trusted expert in senior living, they are there for you and your family. Questions? Concerns? Call McKnight Place today at 314-993-3333 or visit mcknightplace.com.
What's holding you back from solving your tax problems? If it's cost, know that the longer you wait, the more expensive it'll be. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm in St. Louis. Tax resolution doesn't have to be expensive, and waiting year after year to resolve your tax problems can be extremely costly. Interest and penalties on your tax bill won't stop until you take control. So take the first step now and hire a tax resolution attorney to help you. Call me, Lance Drury. I'll tell you in advance an affordable fee which includes costs and expenses that works for your business and family. Your first visit to the Lance Drury Law Firm is free and confidential, so you have nothing to lose. But the longer you wait, the more interest and penalties you'll pay. Call me today. Remember, if you have IRS issues, you have legal issues. You need an attorney. You need us, the Lance Drury Law Firm. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to Lance, DRURYlaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, headaches? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with ENT and Sleep Medicine Associates. Call 618-206-5935. 618-206-5935. That's 618-206-5935.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
You can get your stimulus check as soon as the House and Senate pass my legislation.
This is the biggest giveaway program in the history of the United States, and there's no way to stop it. You get what you vote for.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9.
Scrub is a guy that thinks he's fine, is also known as a buster, always talking about what he
So Ryan brought up in the last segment the apparent gasp that a lot of women apparently have when their man is driving a vehicle and paying maybe 99% of attention to the road in front of them, but that 1% is where the comes in, and you can't
That even scared me. That scared me when you just did that.
See? Andrew on Facebook says if a car is driven by a man in the woods and there's no woman around there to gasp, can it still stop? and then Jeannie says that's me on Facebook. Mark says my wife gasps too. It doesn't make me mad. It makes me freak out then too because she gasped.
Right.
Jeannie says I too am a guilty gasper woman. So it's happening all around in cars everywhere.
I'm glad we're talking about this because I thought this was just my wife. I had no idea that this was a universal issue. I bet a lot of people thought it was just their wife or just themselves.
Yeah, don't take it personally. Can't help it. It's very much so. Here's Brad says on YouTube, our Andy Fry YouTube channel. Well, my wife was riding with me and I looked at her and she was as white as a ghost. But to her credit, she didn't make a peep. Yeah, your wife is stronger than I am.
Yep.
You can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't. I was watching this weekend. We ended up having kind of a crazy weekend in my household. And we started watching Agent Carter, which is, if you're familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you've watched any of those movies, Peggy Carter is the love interest of Captain America. Or if you're a Marvel fan, you don't have to watch the movies. That's people like I'm the person who watches the movie and doesn't read the book, folks. Sorry. But Peggy Carter is the love interest of Captain America, but she's also an agent, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a series called Agent Carter on Disney Plus, if you still have it. If you don't, I get it. And so we were watching this, and it's good. I recommend it if you like the MCU, whatever. But there was this scene in it that stopped me in my tracks when I was watching it. And the series is all about this, government investigative industry, the SSR that they're in or whatever. And there's this one point where Agent Sousa, that's his name, brings in a potential witness to question him about a crime that was committed, whatever. And the witness is a veteran who's homeless, who probably saw something. And Agent Sousa is a veteran from World War II who had a leg injury and he walks with a crutch. And so that kind of sets the scene. So these two men are sitting at this table and they're having this conversation. And Agent Sousa is trying to get this homeless veteran to speak and provide his experience of what he saw or whatever. And the homeless person is saying to him, listen, just because we're veterans, you and I are not the same. Like, don't think that you know me because we both have this veteran thing in the background. You don't know me. We don't live the same lives. We don't have the same interests. And he's like, you're still a cop. He doesn't like cops, whatever. And Agent Sousa tells a story. And it was just so eye-opening to me to hear it in these words out of the context of politics, but applying it to politics once the story was done. Agent Sousa talks about being a veteran, and he walks with a crutch, so he obviously has what you would assume is a wartime injury. If he said he walked into a bar in his fatigues, obviously with his crutch, and as he walked into the bar, he said everybody stopped what they were doing, stood up, and gave him a round of applause as he made his way to the table. And Agent Sousa says, it made me feel uncomfortable, but I, played along, and his words is I curtsied and I sat down, I took my table, whatever. So he said, as he's sitting there at his table, the door opens again, and he's working on eating his dinner. The door opens again, and another veteran in fatigues walks into the building, and he said, so I did what I thought I needed to do, and I put my fork and my knife down, and I got ready to applaud. He said, nobody applauded. And he said in that moment, he realized that it wasn't the fact that they were veterans that they were applauding. He said they were applauding my crutch. And they were applauding my crutch because my crutch makes them feel guilty, and they want to feel good about themselves. And I was like, man, if that's not right now in this world where we are surrounded by stories, the virtue signaling, that's what virtue signaling is. If you're going to stand up for a veteran who's been hurt in war, and it's obvious to your eyes, you've assumed something about this person when you see their fatigues and their crutch, and you stand up and applaud for them, because when you see them, you know that he sacrificed something for you that he can't get back. It makes you inside feel guilty. So how do you medicate that guilt? Stand up and applaud so that that person can see your action. And in that moment, you feel better about you, but that guy's still going to walk out of that bar with that crutch. He's still going to have to figure out how he's going to get in his car and drive himself home. He's still going to have to modify everything he does for the rest of his life, because this is the life that he leads. But you feel better because you tell your family that night, I saw this man and it was so amazing. We all stood up and gave him a round of applause. We have so many politicians seeing the person walk in the door with the crutch and standing and applauding in front of everybody else right now, because it makes them feel good, but it makes them look good. And when the next veteran comes in, who you don't know anything about them, except for the fact that they too are wearing fatigues, so you can assume that they served in a similar capacity as the person previously did who has a crutch. You don't know what's on their insides. You don't know what's in their head. You don't know what kind of injuries they have that you don't see. And we don't applaud that. We don't applaud that because what we're grateful for is the absolving of our guilt. I talk over and over and over on the show because I think it's the biggest thing plaguing our country right now is the selfishness, the self-centeredness of American culture, but global culture as a whole, where our reactions to the circumstances we see ourselves engaging in, encountering in, the people we meet, it's all about ourselves. The virtue signaling that we see on social media, where people, here's the other thing too, and this is an important part of the story. There are a lot of people who are virtue signaling who are not bad people. If you do this, if you post something and you remind everybody to wear their masks, or, a lot of people proud to get their vaccine, or don't post your vaccine card, folks. A lot of people are saying you post your vaccine card. Now people know how to forge them. Don't do that. You can post that you got your vaccine, but don't show the document that you get with it. We have created a society now where especially our children look at this and say, this is how I need to act to be a virtuous person. But the virtue has nothing to do with the shouting it from the social media mountaintops. The virtue comes from who you are as a person. Do you stand and applaud the fatigues and crutch and stand and applaud the fatigues that looks whole? Do you do that? Do you not stand and applaud anybody, but you buy the dinner for both of them? What do you do? And does it count if you don't tell everybody about it? Because in our society today, I don't think it counts, which is what's wrong, because we only do good things for other people when we feel like it's going to make ourselves look good. I think it was episode 8 of the first season. I'll have to figure out what it was, because when that happened, I made my husband rewind. I'm like, listen to this. Go back and listen to this. And what he's explaining here in a Disney Plus series that's like a one-off that a lot of people are never going to see, in the capacity of respecting our military, is virtue signaling. And you can't say this in the political realm because then it looks political. What he's saying is real and it's obvious because he's saying it in a show in a fake universe that doesn't exist about a situation that isn't real. Like the virtue signaling that we see all the time. I don't need to know what good you're doing in your life. I should be able to know what kind of person you are just by knowing you.
Nobody's doing that anymore, though, Annie. Nobody is knowing. Nobody cares to have a conversation anymore. It is all about the spotlight on yourself, how you are making yourself seem on social media.
It's currency.
And yep, it is absolutely currency. How many likes can I get? Because that'll make me feel better when I shut my eyes. That how many likes do I get when I wake up in the morning? How many retweets? All of it is just about, okay, so I said one sentence on this subject and I want everybody to know that I'm on board with that subject. How many people are going to like that?
You've talked many times on this show about being accosted in some capacity because you've supported Republicans and or Donald Trump. Is there an amount of virtue signaling that you could do that would atone for that? Or do you have to disown the party affiliation or any level of Trump support?
I don't know. A lot of my friends or former friends that were kind of down my throat about a lot of things, I think that they just wanted me to say what they wanted to hear. That's why
it makes them feel better.
That's why they're former friends, because instead of having those discussions with me, they wanted me to say what they wanted me to say because they thought they were so right in the conversation that there's no way, shape, or form someone else could believe something else because what they thought was so correct. So I think what they wanted from me was to say, Donald Trump sucks. The whole entire party stinks. And we need to reinvent ourselves to be better because our party is completely damaged because of Trump and because of this, that, and the other. And unless I said those things, then they weren't going to be my friend.
Their loss, for sure.
That's the world we're living in, though. Friendships are breaking up because of politics.
It's like Phoebe Buffay. You know that Friends episode where she's trying to do a truly selfless act? And like she realizes that if she does something nice for somebody else, if it makes her feel good, then it becomes a selfish act. We are so far away from that mentality. Who knew that Phoebe Buffay would be
wise?
The
so wise.
Yeah, she definitely had her moments. I don't know if they were purposeful or not. Well, thanks for listening today. We really appreciate you being here. We are inching towards very close to 2,000 subscribers on the Annie Fry YouTube channel. Would you come subscribe to us? You can watch us every day live. You can also subscribe to our podcast at radio.com and stream the station live, like the DGS that's coming up next. Don't go away.
Say thank you to your home for being there for you. Start with a free estimate from